Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Mossberg. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
Today's the day.
What?
Today will be history in the United States of America.
Yes, it will.
If you look back on this day 100 years from now, if they arrest Donald Trump today, will either be the beginning of the end for our country, or it will be the beginning of us taking back our country.
That's correct. Now, when you say arrest him, do you mean like slap cuffs on him, or like
I mean, if they arrest him.
They arrest him, yeah.
I don't give a shit if they do it over the phone. If you arrest Donald J. Trump for a misdemeanor and charge him in the felony from a DA in the liberal shithole of New York City that's giving everybody that's a felon and putting them out on the road of misdemeanors, you are setting a precedence in our country that the Democratic Party controls the media, controls the Department of Justice, controls the FBI, the CIA. It's already come out now that the CIA killed John F. Kennedy in the 60s, and they have not done nothing about it. It's just
media
acceptable.
didn't even touch it.
Nope.
It's unbelievable.
And with us today, the world famous, the West Texas legend, Wyman Meinzer.
Good to be here, guys. Thank you.
What do you think about what's going on in the world?
Oh, I think it's terrible. I think that, like you say, it's going to be a transitional time. We've not seen anything like this since like someone said on you last night, Washington crossed the Delaware or whatever, and something's gonna have to change. I remarked to my wife this morning, I said, this is no different than Stalinism, Nazism. Whenever you take one person and single them out and find something just because you don't like them, find something to try to arrest them on. That's Nazism, Stalinism right there.
How about this? If Donald Trump would have served 2 terms, because we all know what happened in the second election. That's what gets me. People are like, well, we got to run somebody else. Why? He done exactly what he was supposed to do the second time.
Exactly.
He's the man. But if he would have finished his second term, they wouldn't be doing this right now.
No.
It's all about trying to keep him not being able to run because they're scared to death of him.
They are scared of him as a cobra in a closet, being locked up with a cobra in a closet. And it blows my mind because he has done so much for America. In his 4 years, he did more for America than any president in the past, as far as I'm concerned.
Ever.
And they hate him. And I don't understand that. I can't wrap my mind around it.
Money.
Because he's an outsider. It's because they had it to where you had to come up a certain way. If you're ever going to be president of the United States, you've got to follow these rules. And he blew that to shit.
Yep.
And he said, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to be polished and pampered and have this nice button-up answer.
He didn't take money from the backside.
Everything they accuse him of is what they're doing.
That's exactly
right.
Well,
it's everything that the Bidens, now it's come out that China has given the Bidens millions of dollars.
And that's what gets me. China, Biden in China and Hillary Clinton, what she pulled, and that's all, it's just been, swept under the rug, but yet they pull this one little stunt, trying to pull this one stunt on Trump. And I'm going, my God, what have we turned to?
If you look at the history of just a recent history, let's say from 1970 on, we had Watergate. Richard Nixon was the most popular president this country's ever had when it come to winning by a highest percentage, even more than Ronald Reagan. And he was very, very popular. He won. The FBI, they were all the ones at Watergate doing all that shit. So they ran Richard Nixon out of office. Same situation. They put in Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was a war machine guy. He was part of the CIA and stuff. Then they got him in the worst president we ever had is probably the best person we ever had, which is Jimmy Carter.
Sure,
He's a good man.
He's a good man.
He was a horrible president.
He's a terrible president.
Terrible. So we got rid of him and we come up with Ronald Reagan, who was not part of the establishment, but he was. He kind of was, but he really wasn't. And then we replaced him with the CIA director, George Bush. And from that point on, our presidency until Donald Trump was bought and paid by the deep state. I voted for both Bushes, and I'm embarrassed that I did because they're just as deep inside. There is no difference between voting for Ron DeSantis, I think, than it would be voting for Jeb Bush. I think you're getting the same person. And I like DeSantis as a governor. I think he's done a good job, but I think he's part of the deep state also.
God, I hope not. I hope you're wrong, but I don't know. I haven't drawn any conclusions on that yet.
Well, Jeb Bush sure did come up and endorse him real fast.
Jeb Bush. Whoa, I didn't know. Jeb Bush endorsed him.
Oh yeah, just the other day. And to me, that's just another part of that.
Wow,
it's that machine.
But dang. So Richard Nixon won 93.4%. Ronald Reagan beat Walter Mondale by 95%.
Okay, well then I was off by 1.6%.
It was close, but Ronald Reagan is the most popular.
Yeah.
Well, he won all 50 states, I think, except maybe Hawaii even. No, he didn't win Minnesota because that's where Walter Mondale was from.
Okay. Where were you at when Kennedy was assassinated?
I remember exactly where I was in the gymnasium. I was, let's see, that was November of 63? 63, so I was 13 years old. And I remember the coach, Coach Johnny Tom Hudson, called everybody onto the stage and said, I want y'all to sit down and have an announcement. And
is that Danny Mac's brother?
Yes. And he was a coach, and he's retired as a superintendent now over in East Texas. And he said, President Kennedy's been shot. And, I mean, everybody kind of went, wow. I mean, it kind of blew everybody's mind, even as a child.
Because it was the last president to be assassinated, wasn't it Lincoln? Like, there wasn't. Was there any in the 1900s?
No, wasn't there another one shot?
Was Grover killed? One of the other ones were killed.
I think another one was shot.
Was killed by and his vice president set him up, kind of like John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
What's crazy is I remember 9/11, and I was in the 8th grade, and they same type thing. They rolled that. They used to have the TV on the wheels, and they roll it in there. But I was in history class of all classes, and Pat Reisinger. Yeah, because Ron anyway, he pulled down the old map, and I don't even know if they have those in classrooms now, and he said, the World Trade Centers we've been attacked. We're under attack, basically, is what he said. And I think he pulled out this old long stick, and he said, we're pretty sure it's these countries right here. And it's countries, you never heard about Iraq or Iran when you're in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, like, all classes would go to like 2 or 3 rooms, and we would watch everything on loop.
Yeah.
And I can remember like just you can tell when adults are kind of panicking. And that was a little bit of the vibe whenever he kind of pulled that old map down and was like, all right.
I remember I was in an advisory board at Tech, advisory board meeting, an annual meeting, and the dean walked out, and or whoever was the leader that day, and walked in and come back in a few minutes and said, I have an announcement to make, and told us. And I went, whoa, we got an issue now. We got a real problem now.
I was at the house. Michelle and Missy had went to get junior high concession stand stuff. Oh, the days of being young. And I got up. I was fixed to come to the lodge like I do every morning. I turned the news on, and I'm watching the news, and I'm on the computer, and I'm reading the Yahoo, and they used to have local, and I would read the local stuff to see what's happening in Wichita Falls every day, and I looked at the local, and it said, plane crashes into World Trade Center. I'm thinking a little Cessna or something. The TV's on, but I got the sound down, and I'm trying to looking, and I see a plane run into it, and I'm like, what the hell? And it was the loop. And then they're showing live this one, and then another plane hits the other building. I'm like, this ain't fucking, this is bad. Then I turned the sound up about time, and then I called Michelle, and I was like, listen. And she's like, oh, my God, it's on the radio. She goes, do you think we should come home? I was like, it ain't going to do no good to come home. There ain't nothing to do here.
Yeah.
But that's the day. That's my John F. Kennedy, because 3 days I'll remember the rest of my life. April 10th, 1979 is the tornado in Wichita Falls. Never forget that. The day the space shuttle, the Challenger, whichever one of them blew up, I remember that.
Where I was on that one, too, right there in Knox City by the Lewis's Body Shop.
And 9/11. And those are the 3 days in my life that I remember the most. And I think I'll remember the day Trump got elected. It'll be the next one, because I'll never forget that night and how happy I was and thinking we're finally getting our country back. And then today, I don't know if today will be a day that we'll remember forever the day, but I think what happens today is going to
Exactly.
affect us long term, one way or the other.
Exactly.
We've got this is one of the things I see as a problem in our country. The media is controlled by the deep state.
Mm-hmm.
Most social media platforms, other than Twitter now, are controlled by the deep state.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep what me and you, with the stuff that we read that interests us, they keep off because it's something that they don't like that.
Right.
And they flood it with negative stuff about things that we like, and that's constant all the time. Well, the problem is Aunt Ned and Uncle Sally that live in Des Moines, Iowa, that don't do nothing but watch The View, ABC News, World Nightly News, and their local news in Des Moines or wherever they're at in America.
Right.
Those people are in their mind everything they want them to. They have brainwashed these people.
Yep.
And they go to Thanksgiving, and then their nephew's like, "Well, what do you think about how they're doing Trump?" Well, he's a horrible man. He did this. No, he's not.
Isn't that amazing?
But they don't know any better.
I know it. I know. I was encouraged last night whenever the one of the Fox News persons was in New York and was asking all those kids, it was St. Patrick's Day, I believe, and they were just like, Biden, get out.
If you travel a lot, and we travel a lot, I talk to people. I love to visit, whether I'm in an airport, a men's room, it don't matter where I'm at, I talk to people.
Yeah.
And I cannot find anybody that thinks what's going on in this world is good. I've yet to meet, I met one
Anybody
person.
in the right mind would just knows that it's not good. I mean, we are upside down. We are scraping the bottom for America. We have hit rock. A couple of years ago, I said one of these days it's going to hit rock bottom to really turn things around. We're at rock bottom.
Yep. I'm one for 9,474. I met a lady in Mexico, of all places, that worked for the Homeland Security. And she said, "Oh, we're going to get everything fixed from what the last administration did." You mean when it worked? So basically you're going to unfuck up y'all's fuck up.
She said that?
Yes, she told me that. She was an Army veteran, 20 years Army veteran. She's a black lady, and she was a Democrat. Card-carrying Democrat, loved Joe Biden. She works for Homeland Security.
Gracious.
And I said, "Ma'am, you've done your duty. I appreciate you serving for our country." I said, "We're just going to have to agree to disagree."
What'd she say?
She agreed with me on that. But we had some talking points that we all agreed on. I'm thinking, well, that's the stuff. But when she told me that, "Oh, don't worry about the border. We're going to get that under control. It's just so messed up from the last administration."
What do you mean? We're going to have
the
more?
last administration.
I said, there was no problems down there in the last administration. We didn't have that. Fentanyl deaths have increased by 1,000%.
That just blows my mind that we know fentanyl is coming across the border. We know that for a fact. And the Democrats are doing nothing to stop
They're
it.
killing their own.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. Have you seen the new drug they've got now? They mix
Worse than
fentanyl. Oh yeah, no, they mix fentanyl with some kind of stimulant, and kids are taking it now. It's a new cocktail, and they're dropping dead left and right.
Well, I know that I saw him interview one lady the other night that lost a son who just needed a little Xanax, and he bought it off the street, and it had fentanyl in it and killed him.
Yep.
We had what's his official title from Wichita Falls?
The prosecuting attorney,
He's the prosecuting attorney for all this, and he said it's
not the prosecuting attorney. He's the
he works in the district attorney.
investigating DA.
Right, but he said so. What happens is they just dump fentanyl when they make these pills. So like a pill that you take might be 75% fentanyl, and a pill that I take might be 1% fentanyl. So there's no regulations, and that's what kids are doing. It just takes one pill, and you're a goner because they're not. They don't. It's just let's just dump fentanyl in this, and let's pop it in the pill press, and put a Xanax stamp on it, and then send it. But like, because that was what I was asking. Like, how much would it take to kill? I weigh 180 pounds. How much would it take to kill me? And he said, I don't know, because each pill is different. It might be 90%, it might be 2%. And there's no way of knowing. It's just a luck of the draw when you take that pill at the party.
That's what confused me, because I'm thinking they use fentanyl all the time in the emergency room. It's medicine they use.
Sure.
I'm thinking how these other people, they say a pin drop can kill you, and that's what they said. They got a batch of baby powder and they throw this shit in with it or whatever they do and call it something else. And I've never been a druggie in my life, anyways.
Oh, me neither.
I can't imagine buying a pill off of the
No
street
way.
and taking it, and
way.
They do it all the time.
And
these people are just crazy. And the girl in Wichita Falls that her boyfriend died, she rode around with 2 or 3 hours with him dead in the car.
And then was pissed off that she went back to the drug dealer and said my high wasn't as good as his. He's fucking dead in the back seat, and she's complaining to the drug dealer.
Oh my word! I don't understand.
Complaining
I
to the
can't
drug
wrap
dealer.
my mind around that kind of mentality. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I was raised in a different era.
Well, but you were raised in the era that started this, and that's what surprises me because
yeah,
those hippies,
in the '60s,
the LSD
but
people.
I never did. That was something. Hell, I was out hunting when everybody was dropping LSD.
But I never
I was
have.
getting high in brush with a gun in my hand.
I don't understand that either. I can't imagine the acid and all these things people were taking. I can't figure out how we went from the conservative life that we lived in the late 40s and 50s to San Francisco in 1960. I can't.
That's how.
I understand. I don't understand where the mindset where these kids got. I wasn't around at the time. I just don't understand the mindset where these kids. How did that start? I just don't understand that. I don't understand how the Haight-Ashbury in the San Francisco. What kicked that off that made that start?
I watch that. I still watch that stuff, documentaries on Woodstock and stuff.
I do too.
It's funny because I like the music.
Yeah.
I mean, but I see the idiots out there acting the way they do, and I'm going, well, I like their music, but I never did do any of the things they're doing.
But
and I don't understand
what started that movement.
I think it was teenagers want thrill and adventure, and I think that they
did it.
Listen, okay,
they sure did.
So let's look at this. So World War II ends, and then a lot of families start after that. They get homes on the GI Bill, and the 9-to-5 executive white collar,
the greatest growth in our country.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So this happens, and then we've got the explosion of suburban life, and a lot of people saw a lot of heinous things over there. And now these peoples are moms and dads.
Right.
So they're raising their kids under the thumb of like this military lifestyle. So these kids see Woodstock and Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco in 1969 as their only outlet. Because you got to figure.
I think it was way before 69. Yeah. It was like
either way,
it was the late 50s.
Yeah,
when Elvis and that's when they started, demonizing Elvis because he was
shaking his hips. Because when did World War II end? 45.
45. Then we went to Korea in 50, I think.
Well, let's just say World War. Let's just stop at World War II. So 45. So now you figure those people are coming out. They're in their early 20s. They have kids. Now that's 45, and then you get to 60, and they're 15 years old. And 60 on, they're even older. And then they just want out of that.
You think it was the parenting from all the military background?
I think a lot of it was. I think they had very, very strict parents that saw a lot of bad things over there.
Could be it.
And they kept their thumb on these kids, and the kids knew that this is my only way to get out of this.
Makes a good point. What's interesting about that is when we get done with hunting season, we are busy from September to the end of January. I'm bored to death February and March because I'm used to going. And all of a sudden, we don't have nothing to do. So I want to go all the time still and do things. Well, could you imagine being in a 5-year go, get shot at, you're shooting at people, the adrenaline, to come home.
Just dumped out.
To nothing.
Dumped out.
Yes.
And they didn't take care of
much
people.
obliged.
Yep.
Yeah.
Much obliged.
Yeah.
And then you come in and go, now what do I do? I've been ducking bullets. I've been killing.
Yes.
And God knows what all. And now then they sent me back to civilization, to America. What do I do now?
You're supposed to be selling insurance in Omaha, Nebraska.
I don't know how those boys did it.
And there was, at least today, and there's a lot that we could do for our veterans today still, but you look at that generation back then and it was just toughen up.
They were tough because they were raised in the depression.
Right.
And those kids were tough.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, mentally tough. Tough.
My grandpa would tell me stories about when he was a kid. And I remember my grandpa Stanfield told me that they had a house. And my grandpa Stanfield come from a pretty good family. They were not poor people by any means. They had the first TV in town. They were high cotton boy in that town.
Yeah.
But he said when he was a kid, he remembers laying in bed at nighttime and you could see the snakes crawling because but they didn't have sheetrock and stuff. They just had slat, and you could see a snake crawl through. And
you look at. Of course, I mean, when I was a young boy, I always hung around with the old guys. That was born in the 1800s. Probably the earliest was 1884, which is Orrin Driver. and I would sit and listen to their stories and just ask them about the old days when they were growing up. And then as I got older, I realized that my daddy was way tougher and saw tougher times than I saw, and his daddy saw way tougher times because he was born in the 1870s. Mm-hmm. And then talking to Orrin Driver and Wade House and Wade Barker and those guys, that gave me a mindset when I was like a teenager. You know, if these guys can do it, if I would get to a point like when I thought I can't do this anymore, I think, you know what, they could have.
Yeah.
And so I made myself do things that ordinarily I probably would have just backed off on. And I'd like to think I learned a little bit from those guys, and maybe through osmosis, you know, learning my boys got a little bit of that from me, because I can tell you, I say with great pride, my boys are working son of a guns, and they're not scared of anything. And I go to like the big cities and I see these young kids and I look at my wife and I say, my God, what have we come to? Mm-hmm. I mean, not all of them, not all.
Big percentage of them,
but a large percentage of them.
Yes,
are just. I'm just going, what if those kids were put in my situation, and my daddy's situation, his father's situation, in hard times? How would they handle it? You know, they're skinny jeans. You know, I still remember one day. They call them lumbersexuals, I think.
Lumbersexual.
He was dressed in a black and white plaid shirt. He had these logging boots on with skinny jeans. I mean, they just squeezed his ankles to death. His feet were probably purple. And he had him a perfectly big beard that was perfectly manicured.
Lumbersexual.
With his cap on, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching him walk by and I'm going, holy shit, this is what they're talking about. I mean, this is what I'm referring to right now.
Yeah.
Those kind of guys. Give him an axe and say, go cut that tree down.
Old boy had never touched an axe.
Go get that axe, that double bit axe over there. Or that single, what's a double bit axe, you know?
He's never even been to a store that sold an axe.
I came down the elevator with a guy the other day. Me and Michelle were coming down the elevator. And I had a Filson shirt on, not like the same fabric as this one, but it was a different shirt. And this guy goes, and this is honest, this guy is wearing shorts and a Columbia shirt, and he has flip-flops on, and he has his toes manicured.
Oh, boy.
And his fingernails are painted and stuff. Oh. And I noticed this right away.
Yeah.
Well, I like talking to people like this because there's a story there, so I want to talk to him and stuff. And he goes, oh, I just love your shirt. And he pets me.
Oh,
he moves his arm down. Oh, what kind of fabric is that? I said, well, it's made by Filson. Oh, that's a good company. I was like, oh yeah, it is. And you can see Michelle was kind of trying to. She was snickering. She's trying not to laugh and stuff.
Yeah.
And, oh, this is my stop. And he got off the deal. And I didn't get to ask him any questions because when he started petting me, I was just completely confused. But I thought, could you imagine if that's the kind of guy right there? Hey. If I was a criminal. Easy target. Easy target.
Man,
because he ain't going to defend himself.
No.
He's going to write you a check.
When he walks outside, it walks out. Like my brother-in-law told me, he's from Yonkers, New York. He told me when we went to New York, he said, whatever you do, you look straight ahead. Do not look up at the buildings because that they can zero in like a tourist. Hawk on a quail.
Yeah.
He's going to zero in and say, that guy's not from New York, and I can take him.
So I talk to people in New York City.
Yeah.
Oh, on the street. Hey, you doing? Good seeing you.
Yeah.
And boy, they're
makes them nervous.
Yeah,
that's kind of like on the Crocodile Dundee movie when he's walking down, he's talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't understand. But I'm busy. But you know what I've noticed about New York City? New York City
shithole now.
No, it probably is in lots of places. But most of those people are not much different than we are. They're stuck in their place. If you visit with them and stuff, they hate the same shit we hate. Yeah. A lot of them do, but their mind they're wired different. But most of the people I know from New York City on the street that I've met are the guys from New York that we hunted last year. Great guys.
Yeah,
but they're a lot like us. They're just trapped in that deal.
Yeah.
And
have you seen this? It was on Facebook a long time ago, but we were talking about how tough people were. So imagine you're born in 1900, you're 14, World War I begins and ends when you're 18 with 22 million dead. Soon after, a global pandemic, the Spanish flu appears, killing 50 million. You're alive and 20 years old. When you're 29, you survive the global economic crisis that started with the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange, causing inflation, unemployment, famine. 33, Nazis come into power. 39, World War II begins. Ends when you're 45 with 60 million dead. Holocaust, 6 million Jews will die. 52, Korea begins. 64, Vietnam begins and ends when you're 75. And kids today think that they've got it tough.
They got it tough. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
They have no clue.
No. And the thing about that is most kids that were born in 1900s lost probably one or definitely or two parents.
Oh, sure.
So they're an orphan by the time they're 15 or 16 years old.
You know, one of the reasons that I appreciate the time that I spent, trapping coyotes when I graduated from Tech in 1974 was that my intent was to live a life as close to the early days as I could be. Mm-hmm. You know, bath in a number 3 wash tub, double bit axe. That was the only thing I cut firewood with. And I would not trade that experience for anything today.
Right.
And what it did is actually set a path to where, I don't know, it sort of formed my personality in a way. Mm-hmm. Because, at 22, 23, you can still, be kind of molded a little bit.
Right.
And it did. It really changed me in a very positive way. And it's I wouldn't take for it.
Well, you figured out how to solve things on your own.
Sure.
I'm not. Yeah. The buck stops and ends with me.
That's right.
If I'm hungry, it's my own fault. If I'm cold, I didn't cut enough firewood.
Right.
And I mean, you didn't look for the comforts of modern day civilization. I'm going to make my own comfort.
Yep.
And there's going to be immense struggle in that. But the payoff is going to be, I'm going to know that I can, no matter what life throws at me, I can handle my own.
Right. Right.
But no, kids don't push themselves.
No, they will not push themselves.
There's 35-year-olds that are living in their mom and dad's basement today.
Pretty common too. My grandmother or my grandpa, my mom's side, my grandpa Cord, the little Italian guy. He told me when he actually didn't tell me this. My dad told me this. He said my grandpa went back from World War II, was a warrant officer on a ship. Blah 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 blah. Come back, went to work for General Motors when it first came out. Mm-hmm. Retired from General Motors. And was retired for twice as long as he worked there. He lived to be 99.
Wow.
But anyways, my dad told me that my grandpa, when they would go on strike back in the day, he said my grandpa would go pick apples.
Find something to do?
He worked all the time.
Yeah.
And he worked in his yard and shit all the time. His yard was but when he was not, if something happened at work, they went on strike at General Motors. He said my dad said he was out picking apples or doing whatever it took because he grew up in a different time. I mean his grandfather was murdered at on the town square by Mussolini, hung him for speaking out against communism.
Wow.
Come over in a tramp steamer. His family did to Ellis Island.
Yeah.
I mean it was a tough life.
You bet.
And started. And he was the first one in his family that wasn't a coal miner.
Yeah. Well, when Dad, they had a pretty big family, and their mother, his dad had a stroke, and I don't know, he was in the 30s, I believe, and they had to sort of met their kids out to different families and such.
Yeah.
And they began very early, working. And I remember my dad telling me a story. There's a man and a wife, and they ran a ranch here in Knox County. I won't say which one it was, but the lady was, boy, they were mean son of bucks, and these young boys would come and work, during the Depression, and that lady would get up and she'd look out the window and she'd say to her husband, "Here come them humans." I mean, and then she would say, one of her favorite sayings was, they'd be asleep on the porch early in the morning, and she'd say, "Get up, Waddies, it's 4 o'clock. Get up, Waddies, and pee on the rock. It ain't quite daylight, but it's 4 o'clock." You don't hear that stuff anymore.
No.
But they, again, I just want to, impress upon everyone that I think it's really important for parents to put your kids to the test sometimes.
Sure.
Don't make it easy on them. Don't, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. I remember when my younger son came up to me one day and said he wanted a pickup, or an old used pickup, and he didn't have the down payment. And I might have told this story earlier in another podcast, but I said, I don't have the money. I can't loan you any money, but I will show you how to make some money. He said, "Well, there's not any. Don't have any day work now because all the cattle have been worked, and there's not any wheat, not any stock of cattle." So I said, "I will make a phone call and find out what the bobcat hides are worth, and if they're worth something, I'll show you how to trap." And called the fur buyer in Albuquerque, and he said, yeah, they're worth around $130 a piece. He went out and caught enough cats in 1 month to make his down payment on his pickup. And then one day, to put salt on the wound, he called and said, hey, Pop, I got something to do. Can you skin those 2 cats? I said, you caught them, you skin them. And to this day, Pate and Hunter both maintain that work ethic. I did it, and I will continue.
Did both of them pick up the trapping from you, or
Hunter picked up later? He came in at one point and spent a couple of months at home, and I shared some of my trap line with him, and he caught, I don't know, about 30 cats. But he wanted to get a taste of it before he went on and to further his life into something else.
How long does it take you to skin a bobcat?
I had 2 guys from Cabela's with me one day, and one of them shot a cat, and I skinned him in 6 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
I wonder what the mountain man could do. He couldn't do it much faster than that.
I
Probably
doubt it.
couldn't fast because you probably have better tools.
Yeah. He probably couldn't, but coyotes are a lot harder. You know, in fact, anymore, only way I'll skin a coyote is if I'm going to have one tan. I mean, you talk about stink. I think about all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of coyotes over the years that I skinned by a kerosene lamp hanging out of the tree with hot water to warm my hands and norther blowing at that little dugout. And I think, I ain't doing that no more. You know, I really don't want to skin anything anymore. I'm just kind of tired.
I understand. What's a bobcat skin worth now, Pell?
Nothing.
$0.
No,
Wow.
unless you go way up north. They've made it such. Whenever Obama killed the trade with Russia, that pretty well killed the trade with cats, or the market on cats, say southern cats. You know, when I finished, okay, the year before I totally quit trapping, no, 2 years, my cats averaged $260 a piece. Then the next year they dropped to 200, and after that they went to nothing.
So at $260 a piece for a bobcat, a guy can make some pretty good coin.
Yeah. In 2007, I caught 103 bobcats in 59 days.
Wow!
And they were bringing $200.
No, they were bringing on to like 170 or 180.
Still making good money though.
Yeah. It's worth your time at least.
Oh yeah. And then I was having fun.
Yeah.
How many? So you trapped how many bobcats?
In 2007, I caught 103 in 59 days.
Did you notice a huge drop off on them, or are you still seeing them?
After that, no. The next year was even better, but I had shared my trap line with my son, and so I'd caught like 85 the next year in about the same period of time, and he caught like 30. So I would have caught probably those or maybe more, and then the next year, boom, the cat population dropped off.
What happened?
And, well, caught them
all.
And because after that, whenever the population drops, then you start catching young cats. And see, your price was dependent on the length of your cats.
Oh, okay.
Of course, your toms brought more than the females. But if anything over 36 inches was considered a large, anything like over 38 or 40 inches was extra large. You know, when I was catching a lot of cats, when they were a good population and it was a stable population, I caught a lot of 36, 38, some 40-inch cats. But, man, after 2 years of really heavy trapping, they dropped off where there was a lot of 32, 30-inch cats, 34-inch cats, rarely anything over 36.
How big is Ollie, you think? I mean, that's Ollie's.
There ain't a bobcat that big.
No, but
no,
what's Ollie? You think he's 60 inches long?
Yeah, I don't know.
But, I mean, that's a big bobcat. 40-inch
Yeah.
bobcat is
stretching 42. I think 42 inches is the longest a cat ever stretched.
I saw the cat that won
That's
the
girthy.
San Angelo weighed 36 pounds, I think.
Yeah, I just can't buy that shit. You know, I've caught. I've taken 886 bobcats in my life.
886.
And none of them weighed over. Well, one weighed 31 and a half pounds. One out of 886 bobcats. Something ain't right with all these 30, 35, 36-pound bobcats. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah, because it seems like everybody is.
Yeah, everybody's catching 30,
catching them.
35, 40 pounds. I'm not buying it.
I'll look it up.
And like I say, out of 886 bobcats, and one weighed 31 and a half, and the rest of them weighed 28 and down.
35 pounds, 1 ounce.
Yeah, 35 pounds, 1 ounce.
But just something smells.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That
I know they've been catching people doing illegal things with them. You know, like feeding them up, putting them on game camera, feeding them, and then going out and calling them later.
Right.
And some's even been putting like.
So they're hunting them in the wild. They're just feeding them year round.
They're feeding them year round and getting them going. The 31 and a half that I actually, my brother caught it, and I actually tracked the cat down and had to kill him. I was wanting to transplant him to another area, but I couldn't get him in a cage. He'd get in the cage and I couldn't get the door slammed on him. I mean, he was one tough Tom, but he'd been eating my brother's chickens for like 3 weeks. That's the only reason he weighed 31 pounds.
Right.
I tell you what, my luck would be, I'd be feeding that son bitch some beef, throwing steaks out there for him, and then my neighbor would call him in and shoot him.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and this is the thing with these contests is they incentivize a little bit of let's blur these lines.
Money, anytime that you put that kind of money, you're going to get people figuring out ways to win.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Would that pay $38,000?
35.
So $1,000 a pound.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically is what it pays.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that these guys cheated because I mean that could be
I'm
legit.
not either.
But that's just
again. I know I've taken 886 bobcats in my life.
Yeah.
And one of them went over 30 pounds, and it was because he'd been eating my brother's chickens for 3 weeks.
Right.
The rest
Nearly every day.
Rest of them
Rest
are
of them
25
were
pounds?
28 down.
28 down. Didn't you catch a big coon one time?
28 pounds, 27 pounds.
That's
What
a big
was
old
he
coon.
eating?
Whatever he wanted.
He was out there on the pitchfork when I was in 1974. He was eating cedar berries, and he was getting real fat on cedar berries.
That's a smart animal.
Raccoons, they are until you start trapping them. Then they're real silly. I mean, they're
easy to catch.
easy. Oh my word! You pray you don't catch one because generally they run in the same areas where cats run. Because if you find a real good cat run, probably there's going to be a coon running there. They like edge effect locations, like where brush stops and it's open country, around canyon rims, in creek bottoms where you come up out of a creek. That's typical coon. Sometimes I used to catch 2, 3, and 4, maybe 5 coons. Then I'd catch the cat. But you have to go through all these raccoons before you get the cat. And so, but raccoons are so easy to catch.
Did you just shoot them and let them lay?
Yes.
Maybe we shouldn't have said that, but
Yeah. I have no use for raccoons. Raccoons are serious predators on quail nests. Research Texas Tech research has shown that raccoons, opossums, skunks, and even armadillos are tremendous predators on quail nests.
so are woodpeckers, aren't they?
That I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
Not
about
woodpeckers, roadrunners.
No.
I thought roadrunners.
No, roadrunners are
they
not.
won't steal eggs or anything.
That's an old
Wives' tale.
wives' tale dating back to the turn of the century.
I don't see roadrunners like we used to around here.
Well,
We used to have them all around
2021
here.
killed the hell out of them.
Is that what it is? Because
yeah.
I used to have 1 or 2 on this road, and you see them in the same place all the
you'd
time.
see them all the time.
2021 killed lots of birds.
I hadn't seen a roadrunner around here in a long time.
I hadn't
I
either.
saw a study. I don't know if it's a study. A guy, it was his own educational synopsis of this, but he said that they've done a raccoon contest the last couple of years in the county where they are, and they pay money for it. And these guys go out and shoot coons. With the coons on the varmint hunt looks like it'd be a fun little hunt.
They need to do a lot of that.
But he said their turkey numbers are way up now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
They're
anything
nest
that's
raiders.
yeah.
They're nest raiders. They run around with their nose on the ground.
Yeah, and he said that they've done a contest. And he said we killed 800 coons one night here, and then we killed 600 another night. But instead of guys with the dogs, they're doing it as a varmint contest.
Yeah.
And calling them. And boy, you hit them varmint notes, and I'm sure you've had coons come up to you a lot of times.
Well, all you have to do is, I don't call very many coons up with my mouth calls at all. Just maybe one every 2 or 3 years. But with electronic calls, I know that when Gerald Stewart gave me an electronic call, decades ago, and he had a tape fighting raccoons, you had better back your butt against a tree because they're coming, and they're coming hard and fast.
Yeah.
Gobs of them.
We got to take the boys to do that one day. That would be fun.
I don't do electronic calls, but if you do, get the fighting raccoon tape, and I'm telling you, just back up and get ready.
But I mean, yeah, that's the same thing. And they'll charge because you can put like a little tail on your electric collar. I mean, they look like they've got to be a descendant of a bear. That's not the video, but They've got to be a descendant of a bear.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that they kind of just come lumbering out of that tree and then, oh, here it is, maybe. But they're aggressive as hell. But I mean, look at him. He's just a tiny bear.
I remember back in the 80s, Rick, my brother and I were calling one day, and we were sitting side by side, and we was on a big sloping hill overlook a big creek bottom. And all of a sudden we heard growling and rocks rattling, and we turned around and there was a raccoon like 6 feet away, ears back, growling and running right at us. And we both jumped up and hollered, and that raccoon just busted right between us and went right on down through there. I swear if we hadn't jumped up, he'd have just bowled us over. And we busted him as we went down the hill.
That's nuts.
And then my brother later it was doing another stand, and I set him off to the side on a sloping hill, and a coyote did the same thing. And whenever it was over, I walked over to him. He was sitting there shaking his head. I just don't know how much more of this I can take. I tell you, I laugh.
Everything is charging me out here. What have the coyotes looked like this year? Have they had pretty?
You know what they have? They've all looked good. I've not seen even one. Well, I saw one with a part of a tail missing when I was photographing them. Mm-hmm. And other than that, all of them look real pretty. I've not done a lot of calling this winter because of so much book signing. I've signed like 1,500 books since they've come in. Yeah. And so I didn't get to go out and do much calling in December. But the ones that I called up in January and photographed look really, really pretty.
Is that indicative of a healthy population, or is it so a nice hide, nice fur?
Well, what it indicates to me that the mange is finally burning itself out, which started in 1986.
What was it? Just
sarcoptic mange mite. Across the river out of Mexico. Oh. I was warned by a parasitologist who was a professor at Tech, Dr. Dan Pence, who taught in the med school, and he said, sarcoptic mange mite has crossed into Texas. He said they will be in the rolling plains in a few years. And in 1986, it hit with about 15% of the coyotes that I had shot had mange. And by about 1999, almost 100% of the coyotes that you saw had mange.
Whoa!
And like beef, like cattle who died in the fields, nothing would eat them. There were not enough coyotes to feed on the carcasses. It was terrible.
So we were that low. We were that close out here.
It devastated them, and it kept moving like a fire all the way up to Kansas, Nebraska, and the later it went. You'd talk to guys when it was finally dying out here. The guys up north would say, "Man, we got mange up here." It's just like a fire. It's got to burn out.
That's crazy.
It's crazy that the population was so low and that it was able to rebound to where it is today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a fact that whenever population densities are low, coyotes will have larger litter numbers. I mean, that's a scientific fact.
Right. Yeah, they take care of themselves.
Right, they take care of themselves. And like whenever the food source drops off, their litter sizes are smaller.
So if a mother had this mange, would she pass that on to her pups? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like fleas.
Yes.
And then that right there shows you how tough these animals are. Yeah. That they can make it and have virtually no hair on their hide.
Whenever it was bad, I would find coyotes curled up dead.
Froze to death.
Just froze to death.
Yeah.
I remember on a pitchfork one day there was a cut bank and there was a skeleton up under there where a coyote tried to crawl up under there out of the weather and died. And it's pretty sad.
Do the mites get onto humans? Like they could?
Yes, absolutely.
And then what do we have to do?
You have to go to the doctor and get some sort of salve and put on it. But yeah, I'd always, if I had to handle one, weigh it and everything, I'd either do it with gloves or I wouldn't even do it. Right. I'd just leave them laying there.
We had a guy on the podcast a long time ago, Tom Brennan. He's on Mountain Men. He's the guy that does have you ever watched that show? Mm-mm. That would be, I think you would find that interesting. It's a documentary on people that live in the mountains.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Anyways, he I think it was a bear that he killed, and he used a smoker on the preserving the hide.
Oh, never heard of that.
They build a smoker and they smoke it and they let the smoke And I did not know that it was buffalo hide maybe or something. Anyways, what it was, I did not know that. I did not realize that they used smoke to preserve the hide.
Would that just be preserving it until they could send it to have it tanned?
You're talking to the wrong person. I was asking you for the expert.
Yeah, well, I know nothing about tanning.
But they used smoke. He built a fire all night one night in Grizzly. They make a show out of the deal. But in his backyard, he had him a deal, and he smoked the hide.
Yeah, I think that he might have been sensationalizing or something.
He said that was the old Indian way of doing it, and that's how they did it.
Yeah. Of course, I heard that they had the Indian women, they would chew the hides. They would chew on them and to
they would have no
soft.
Teeth left.
I imagine that's the reason they were used up at 20.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fact.
Yeah. And if you
were
about
19 or 20, nobody wanted anybody. Yeah. Nobody wanted the girls.
No, and if you were a good-looking one, you didn't have an Achilles because they cut that so you couldn't walk off.
That's sad. That's, oh, man.
It was a terrible life.
Oh, man, we can't even fathom. Oh, my word.
No, and that's what's funny. If you go to an Indian reservation nowadays, it's casinos and broken down cars and a bunch of trash in most places, and they have no clue. This is a pet peeve of mine. I think if you're an Indian and you're going to get to, or a Native American, as I'm trying to become more politically correct, and you want to be able to subsistence living or whatever they call that, where you have to live off the land and stuff.
Yeah, subsistence.
Yeah.
Then you need to use a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
I have a real problem with them gillnet and walleye in some of these lakes and wiping out an entire lake.
Yeah.
Fish like your ancestors did. I don't have a problem with that. But you shouldn't get to use modern devices.
Right. If you're going to live out in the wild.
I watched that Life Below Zero, and there's a lady up there, and she's there, whatever tribe she was, Inuit or whatever, they've got tattoos on their chin. They've got these lines down them.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
And that lady and her husband, they're what'd you call it? Subsistence living, and they're living and they're trapping and doing this stuff. Well, they're in a boat with a brand new Evinrude on it.
Yeah.
They're shooting shotguns and rifles and snow machines and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's
semi-automatic also on rifle, the tactical weaponry. And I'm going, get a bolt action. At least get a bolt action. Model 700 or something.
They're getting a check. Already they're getting a check. So if you want to live that lifestyle and be able to hunt year round and stuff, then do it like your ancestors did. Don't do it the other way around.
Right.
I've got a real issue with that.
Yeah.
Did any of the Indians out here have the tattoo culture, or was that something that was...
I'm not aware. I know the literature that I have read didn't really speak of tattooing.
Right.
If it did, I don't recall.
But when they would go to battle, like they'd put on their war paint.
They put on their paint, yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's an excellent book called 33 Years with Wild Indians by Colonel Dodge. I think it was written in either 1878 or 1880. And that gives a good overview of the Plains Indians because he was in Texas and up into Kansas. And it's big. I mean, it's like, probably 600 pages. And that's an excellent book to read for a view of what life was like with living with the Indians. And
how did he get? Was he part?
He
Indian?
was Colonel Dodge was military, and he was among the Indians starting back in the 1860s, I believe. It might have been the late 50s, 1850s. I know through the 60s because he I don't know. Because the book was written in either 1878 or 1880, and of course Dodge City, Kansas, is named after him, Fort Dodge, and that is an excellent read. He was all the way down to Fort Chadbourne. He talks about being at Fort Chadbourne,
Nebraska.
No, Texas.
Where's that at?
That's down by Bront, down below Abilene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
down
talks
by Buffalo Gap.
Yeah, he talks about how the Indians were wonderful in shooting contests. They could shoot a bow very well, although they knew how to. When they would get in a shooting contest with someone, that like a soldier would put up a coin, and that Indian could work that bow to where when he shot, that arrow would turn and knock that coin off. It wouldn't necessarily hit it point on, but part of the shaft would hit it. But he said they were such experts with a bow. They weren't exactly dead on perfect, but they knew how to manipulate that arrow.
Right.
I mean, it's an interesting read. Very interesting.
When they rode their horses, did they use bridles or anything?
The hackamores or bridle. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, they had to.
That's what I'm.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But they didn't have Well, I guess they had leather though. They had made leather.
Either
Already.
that or buffalo hair
Right.
ropes. Yeah.
Is that what they use? Buffalo hair ropes?
Well, I'm sure they used a lot of that. Yeah. Or horsehair ropes out of the tails of the horse. Yeah.
And that's what they would use to.
Yeah.
I always wondered about that because you see them on TV and they look like they're riding the cavalry's.
Yeah.
Got the bits
Yeah.
and shit in their mouth and
Yeah.
stuff, and that they didn't have
Well,
bits.
I know I've seen old photographs, and some of them have bridles. And of course, when the photographers came, that was after a lot of the wild ones were already gone.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that hackamores was a big thing, which didn't necessarily have a bit.
Interesting people. The things that amazed me a lot about the Indians were a lot of they've got that romantic lifestyle that they live.
Yes.
And then it amazes me that as long as they were here, they had invented a wheel. It
Yeah.
just blows my mind how primitive they were in a lot of ways.
They were.
And in a lot of ways, they were really, really. I mean, like they're.
Well, they just learned. They did what was necessary for their way of life. They
Right.
They never conceptualized the wheel.
No, I know but it's hard to believe they were dragging people around still when we got here, and they didn't use a wheel.
Yeah. One of those
but
travel horses. Yeah.
I read a book, and I wish I could think of what it was. It was talk about some of the things that they did, and one of the tribes even kind of practiced some surgery.
Some surgery.
They would with them obsidian. What's the black
the
rock
obsidian.
called?
Yeah,
And
I
how
know. I've
sharp
seen
they
that in the
could get.
Smithsonian. I've seen skulls that had been surgery had been
Yeah,
or they've been worked on surgically, and it was done with obsidian, because obsidian is the sharpest
Right.
instrument. I mean, a rock stone. Once you
Does it
once
dull
you
quickly?
split it. I'm sorry.
Will it dull quickly?
That I don't know.
I think
but
that's
I
what they
know
make
that
pool-
obsidian is the sharpest. Once you chip it, it is the sharpest. It can be used for surgery.
that's what they pool tile was in freaking Mexico. I cut myself on.
Yeah.
Was sharp as shit. Anyway, that shit, the obsidian though, that is the sharpest. They say it's scalpel's edge, like
Yeah,
the razor
yes.
or a surgeon's
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
I saw a video today. So anesthesia wasn't invented until 1846
1846.
is when anesthesia like we know it today. So like all surgeries prior to 1846, childbirth, anything like that, was just hold them down
Toothaches.
and let's work fast.
You know what killed President Washington, don't you?
Teeth, wasn't it?
No,
Bloodletting.
bloodletting.
Bloodletting. That is correct. Now remember, like he had pneumonia or something,
He had sore throat.
sore
And
throat,
he had
and they let
blisters in his throat.
yes,
So he had probably tonsil. He had strep throat probably.
strep throat more than likely,
And they bled him
yes.
out. They just
And
kept
bled
kept him, let him bleed and bleed till he bled to death.
You're talking about primitive.
Jeez.
I tell you what, the other day I was in Colorado and doing a presentation there with the Land Report, and it was a national meeting of brokers and realtors, and we were doing like a talk session. How are you? How's the book? Blah blah blah. How did this come about? And Selena developed a toothache when we were up there,
Ooh, that's those
and
worse.
it got ahead of her. And she called home, and they had a prescription ready for her once we got it. But she got about 2 days behind. Let me tell you something. That was bad.
Put you to your knees.
That gal was in pain.
Yeah.
Toothache
Neck was
and earache's
swollen
the
all the way
worst.
to her ear, down to her neck. It was terrible.
Earache and toothache are the two worst things in the whole
Oh
world.
my word! I'll tell you something though that's bad, and that's trigeminal neuralgia.
What the hell's that?
Oh my word! They call it the suicide disease
Wow.
because of the pain, and I had it. I had it for years.
What is it?
It is the trigeminal nerve. There's 5 or 7 nerves. I forget from comparative anatomy, but I studied those nerve in your holes in your skull. I still believe there's 7 nerves. Anyway, it's the trigeminal nerve, and it manifests itself either in an earache or a toothache. It can be, the side of your face can almost become paralyzed. But once you develop it, and what it is that nerve becomes inflamed at the foramen, the hole in your skull that goes through your brain. The skull comes from your brain. I mean, the nerve comes from your brain, goes through the foramen, and then it goes out through your body, and it affects your hearing, your eyesight, and your vocal cords, everything. And so mine manifests itself as an earache. And I remember one night going to the doctor on a Saturday night emergency room in Haskell. And Dr. Cadenhead, Mr. Cadenhead, the older man, was there, and he looked at my ear and he said, "You don't have an earache." He said, "You have trigeminal neuralgia." I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's an extremely painful nerve issue." And he said, "It's often referred to as a suicide disease."
Make you want to shoot yourself.
Lots of people kill themselves.
What do they do to fix it?
Personally, you have to stay ahead of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've found. If you don't, once you feel it coming on, and what happens with every heartbeat,
You feel
that
it.
pain hits you in the ear or in the tooth.
Oh shit!
And you cannot keep your head still. You jerk your head like this,
wow.
and that all day and for a week. I've been actually on the bed for a week, sitting there with my head jerking with this daggum pain,
Every heartbeat.
with every heartbeat. And so now, and I haven't had it in 2 or 3 years, knock on wood.
Well, I was going to say, he done jinxed yourself.
And when I feel it coming on, I start taking Excedrin,
And it helps.
and it kills it. But if you ever let it go and it gets ahead of you, look out. There ain't nothing. They gave me codeine one time, and I will never take codeine again. I promise you. I'll take anything but codeine.
Make you loopy?
I
or
went
sick?
crazy.
Really?
I would
I've
lay
heard
on
other
the
people
bed
with
and
codeine do that.
hallucinate. I would raise up, and then I would just fall back down on the bed. For like 5 days, I did that.
So Excedrin's a whole lot better for you.
Get ahead of it. And one thing that'll set it off is a wet head with wind on your head.
Really?
Yes, that's what would ignite mine.
Wet head with him.
If I'd wash my head and then lay down next to an open window at night, boy, the next morning,
So if you dry your hair, you're okay.
dry your hair, you're okay.
Yeah. Have you ever had shingles?
No, I got that shingle shot.
I have had shingles maybe 3 times in my life, and I can feel them coming on. I got them one time at Disneyland, really bad. And Lori Lynn and them were with us, and Lori's like, she's RN. She's like, "Jeff, you have shingles." And so I called, and Zeke gave me some medicine and whatever it was. But he gave me a nerve pill, and I don't know, I can't remember the name of it. I wish I could. But I would take a nerve pill if I feel it coming on, and I always get it in the same spot. It's on my chest.
Yep.
The only time it bothers me. And
I've
luckily,
heard
some
that.
people get on their face and their mouth. All kind.
Oh, in their
And
eyes.
Yes, and it would. But I would take that little nerve pill, and it would wipe it out. I mean, immediately.
Really?
And it was really a great thing. The problem was, if I took that little old pill that was about 10 milligram, my ass is done for 24 hours. I mean, there ain't nothing I could do. So I told Zeke about it one time. I said, for everybody that don't know, Zeke's my doctor, and he's a Benjamin kid. So I told Zeke about it one time. He goes, "Are you serious?" He goes, "It knocks you." I said, "I'm telling you right now, I'm no good for 24 hours."
Yeah.
I said, I would, if I had stuff to do, I would live with the shingles for that day, knowing I couldn't take that pill, because the whole next day I couldn't do shit if I took it at night.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
24 hours. And he goes, "Seriously?" He said, "Yeah." He said, it's a nerve pill. He said, "There are old ladies in our town that take 3 times that deal twice a day that just go to work, do their normal
It just
stuff."
affects you
I said,
differently.
"It knocks my fat ass out, boy."
Tell them what you did with your blood pressure medicine.
So I was taking my blood pressure medicine. Since I've lost weight, I don't take any pills anymore. I used to take blood pressure medicine every morning. I take a little, I think it was antinolol chloranthanol is what I took. Well, so I started getting tired. I mean, tired. I'd wake up, I'd be fine. I'd come to lodge, take my pill, come to lodge. About an hour later, I was dragging ass. I mean, almost, I'd go home, take a nap every day. And I told Michelle, I said, I've got some deadly disease. I'm dying.
Dead.
She's like, "What's wrong?" I said, I said, "Michelle, I feel like I'm dying." I said, I said, all day long, it just wipes me out. I said, "In the morning, I feel good, but it's as soon as I get going in the day, I feel like shit." So I went to, after about 2 weeks of this, I mean, I'm like a zombie.
Yeah.
I went and seen Zeke, and he goes, "Are you depressed?" He said, "Could be depression. Are you depressed?" I said, "Fuck, I'm self-employed. I'm in the waterfowl business. It hadn't rained in 6 months. I probably am depressed, but I said, no more than I have been any other time in the last 20 years. He said, "Let's do some blood work on you, blah, blah, blah." So I drew some blood, and he said, "I'll let you know. We're going to send this off." And he goes, "Come back in a couple of days." I went home that next day to take my medicine. I was looking. I said, "What the fuck?" We had been on vacation, and I'd put all my pills in one bottle. Instead of taking 3 or 4 different Built bottles, I just put them in a bottle. I'd been taking Finagrin. I put some Finagrin in there, so in case anybody had threw up, they'd have some medicine.
Yeah.
I've been taking Finagrin every morning. That shit knocks you on your ass.
Then they're going to wipe you out so that you can sleep through the stomach throwing up.
Yeah. So I called him. I said, "Don't worry about that
Don't
blood
worry
work."
about it. I
said,
figured it out.
I've been taking Finagrin for 2 weeks straight every morning. He goes, "That'll make you tired." I said, "Yeah, that did." I mean, I just knew I had some, oh God, I'm dying. I got some bad disease. I'm just wasting away.
So don't do that again. Just keep your pills where they go.
Watch those pills.
What in the movie Tombstone? And this might not be accurate, but it's Wyatt's wife. She was addicted to something, wasn't she?
Who's this?
Wyatt Earp's old lady.
Oh yeah, that was
the first old lady.
Was it the green? Was it the opium den?
opium.
It was opium.
Yep. Opium. Yep.
You know what's crazy about opium is I wonder how that first got here. I guess the Chinese.
Chinese, I'm
brought
sure.
it.
But the heroin boom, and I don't know this, but I bet if you look on a computer, I bet the heroin boom in our country started after Vietnam.
Yes.
Because
More than likely.
they brung all that stuff over here from them, and the CIA that's one of their ways they were funding themselves.
Yeah, it was in the 70s.
Is when heroin it was
Heroin
after,
activity in 1970 to 78. So yeah,
I can't fathom
brought
filling
it
that
over here.
stuff.
You're a TV guy, but you like documentaries.
Yes.
I'm not a Ken Burns fan no more, anyways. After he came out the other day, but he's a very talented man.
He's very talented.
Did you watch the English Downton Abbey? Did you ever watch that?
No.
That's a very interesting one. If you like history, it's about a rich family that's aristocratic and the roles and how they do things. And but it was an interesting show to me, and I think you would enjoy it. It's set probably starts out. I'm going to guess 1910 to 19, but it's very interesting. I enjoyed The Crown too.
And the title of it is
the Downton, not like downtown, but Downton, Downtton Abbey. And it's
in England.
It's set in England, and it's kind of me and Michelle started watching it after COVID. It was one of our COVID deals. You couldn't go nowhere, and we started watching this. And I was like, let's watch this and see. And I thought this is gonna be a chick flick. A lot of drama, a lot of stuff going back and forth. But I really, really enjoyed it. It's an interesting show.
Yeah.
But
speaking of COVID, old Fauci's kind of getting.
Did you see him go to that hood?
Oh boy, I love that
an old
so
video.
much.
No,
I love that so much.
That was a video recently.
Yeah,
it looks like summertime in the background. Look it up. The trees are green.
Let me see. But yeah, I think it was relatively recent.
That was so much fun when they turned and walked off, and that guy didn't say what they wanted him to say.
No.
I loved it.
He's a weasel.
I actually think that is. I think there's a documentary maybe coming out about it because it shows him in the car, and he takes some pill after that interaction.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day about breaking what's going on right now and blah blah in the world. The Republicans are doing this, blah 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 blah, and look, it's fucking summertime. I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
I can't. How much did he make? He's made
millions,
an ungodly amount of money off of these.
Do you remember when Obama come out and said how much money is enough money?
Yep.
When he was bitching about you didn't build this,
that's right. You didn't build this. How much money?
Well, how much fucking money do the Democrats do? Because they're the ones that are freaking greedy as shit.
Exactly.
I saw that BLM had millions of dollars in that SVB bank.
Yeah.
That went under.
That's probably why we're bailing it out.
Although they had billions in that bank that went down in California.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Well, they're going to get all their money back because the tax. Me and you're paying for it.
That is.
It's the biggest bunch of shit in the world. There's a sign at ever since I've been a little kid. There used to be a sign that says FDIC at every bank you go to.
Yeah.
And every one of them says, we'll hold your deposit. It used to be $50,000. Now it's $250,000.
$250,000. Yeah.
I don't have $250,000 in the bank, so they do me no good anyways.
Right.
But if I had $3 or $4 million in the bank, I would have them in bonds or something like that, or the stock market somewhere. I would not be. Can you imagine so many people? Roku had $480 million in that bank in cash.
Right.
Oh, my word.
Why would you do that?
I don't understand.
Does someone that works there not say, you know what,
I'd
we need
rather
at least
bury it somewhere in a pipe,
or diversify it and put some over here?
Yeah.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket.
No.
And then the people that ran that bank sold all their stocks.
Oh, my
They knew what they were
word.
doing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it was definitely in the summer. But it's an older video. It came out in November. We're just not seeing it. So they kept it all under wraps. So it probably happened last summer.
Well, that's
or last
typical
fall.
of keeping it under wraps,
Yeah.
When 50 years from now, kids are going to call each other Fauci's. Used to be Benedict Arnold, traitor.
they could call
Somebody
him
like
Fauci.
Fauci is going to be coming up there because he's going to go down in history.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
one of the biggest pieces of shit that ever breathed.
Yeah.
Jeff thinks that they're going to turn on him. Do you think that they're going to turn on him? Because Jeff's just said that they're going to kick Fauci to the curb and they're going to get Biden out of the way before 2024.
Yeah, I believe that's coming.
Kick Biden out.
And I think Fauci's going to be a scapegoat.
The fall guy.
I think he's going to be the
doubt
fall
it at all.
guy. And
I
I
don't
think they're going to come up and say, yes, you know what? Biden is incompetent. He needs to go, and we need
But
Gavin
how are they going to
Newsom.
do that? Because that's going to erase
They're
everything
invoke the
from
25th Amendment.
you think the Democrats will?
Yeah, I think if they
But
want him out,
Who are they going to run? There's
Gavin Newsom.
No.
Oh, my word.
He
Oh, my
doesn't
word.
stand a chance.
Mark my word.
Oh, my
Gavin
word.
Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
The chick
He's
with
wanting
the,
to give.
the chick with the penis or Gavin Newsom are there two people that are going to run.
Gavin Newsom is running a state that is absolutely trashed out. And how can he have any argument that he would be
Right.
a reasonable, a good
For the
president?
first time.
First of all, I'm
how
with
could
you.
he have a fight?
I'm with you, but they don't care about that. Look at that. They got an incompetent man that shits in his pants.
Yeah.
That they ran. Look at this way. Go back to the date when Gay Pete bailed out, Bernie Sanders bailed out, Pocahontas bailed out, and someone else bailed out the same day. Every one of them got something for doing it.
Cabinet position or some.
Or got something
Stroke,
given to their
kind of
state or
stroke.
whatever.
Yeah.
But they all bailed out one time because Biden was going to lose Super Tuesday. He was done.
Who was he going to lose it to?
finished.
Bernie?
They were going to keep splitting the vote over and over and over. And they said, listen, we can't do this. We need to get all behind this guy. Pete, if you'll bail out,
We'll put you energy.
you're
going
going
to
to be the transportation secretary.
Oh, boy, he's
and you'll
very
be
good.
set for rest of life. The guy knows a lot about transportation because he's been rear-ended more than any man in politics.
I was wondering where he was going with that.
but they got him out on purpose. He left. All of them left. It was all a ploy because Biden they could control. He was their puppet.
Yeah.
You know, Kamala is a total dipshit.
Oh, she is
But
a dip now.
They don't want him to die or something happen to Biden because if Kamala comes in, she's too stupid. They will be able to talk her into a corner.
That's exactly what I've told people. What happened to Biden? You know, can you imagine Kamala Harris being in there? I said, hell, she won't do anything. She's too stupid to do anything. She can't talk.
But
Just giggles.
She'll have to talk. See, Biden, they got him.
No, they won't, because Biden hadn't had to talk.
He
For
can't.
2.5 years. He's
can't.
been shielded by the
That's
media.
right.
She doesn't have the ability to not respond to a reporter. He's like a robot. They got him doped up and shit.
I feel
he goes
bad
in.
for him.
I do too.
He
Yeah.
did some interview that he just the way that he looks when people are asking him, he's got his mouth just
sure.
wide open. It's
I know
like
it.
you go to any old age home, and that's exactly the response you're going to
Do
get.
you know
from
what
most
I
of the people
told?
there.
I told Slinda last night. We were watching Fox News, and they showed a news person asking Biden a question, and he was like,
Yeah.
what did you say?" And
Way
I told
out.
Slinda, I said, I hate to say this about elderly people because I'll be one of these days if I live long enough, but I said he looked just like my mother in the last of her days at the rest home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're old and confused.
Yeah,
Confused
just
about
totally
what's going on.
confused.
Yes.
And now he's there's no telling what they're pumping him full of. I mean, they're doping him up so that he can even he trips going up the stairs to
Yes.
Air Force One most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's elderly abuse. It's all it is.
It is, and they don't care. The
No.
liberals don't care.
He's a pawn.
And so that's why they'll run Gavin Newsom. And the media is going to love him. He's from California. He's one of their guys. And California comes with 54 electoral votes.
I think he'll be easy to beat because
I
for the
think
first
he
time,
will too.
California has lost people. I mean, it was a mass exodus after COVID. People were leaving California.
California is not a model state.
No.
I mean they are a model state of ruin.
Are y'all talking about a fair election or one like we had before?
Oh well, I'm talking about fair election.
Well, that's the difference too. It don't matter who they run up there. They can run Mickey Mouse. If you're going to stop the votes and get everything you need covered.
What really aggravates me about that is that voting issue is that why doesn't the Congress, the Senate, the House, why don't they do something about this voting stuff?
Because they don't want to.
This is insane.
But they don't want to.
This is not America.
No, but they don't
I mean,
care.
a good conservative will never win again.
You're right. Did you see Lindsey Graham tell that guy to shut up at that press conference?
No.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham is getting questioned. He's talking about Ukraine. Putin is stealing children from Ukraine and taking them to Russia. And someone in the back says something. And someone else says something. He'll shut up. If you want to talk, you run for office. He's a prick. He's a deep stater. And that's the problem.
I know he is. I agree totally.
They wanted Georgia to law. They wanted Georgia to go to the Democrats because if the Senate was controlled by the Republicans and the House, they might actually have to do something. They didn't want to have to do something.
He and Mitch McConnell.
They're right. They're knee deep in all that. Every one of them is in it, and that's why they don't do nothing about voter deal because they know if we have a fair election. First of all, if we have a fair election and you only let American citizens vote, which should be, Donald Trump probably gets 80% of the vote.
I agree.
Those people in the big cities, they've had enough of this shit. If you got a true, Honest to God,
Yeah.
we're only going to vote on Tuesday. We're not doing ballot harvesting. We're not doing this. You're going to vote the way it was intended to
Going to be
do.
counted that day.
Yep, each man
Like
and
Florida
each vote.
did.
If
Yep.
they can figure out who won American Idol in 30 minutes, they can figure out who the hell wins our presidential deal. One vote.
Yep.
What was it that Mitch McConnell? Something was leaked not too long ago. Mitch McConnell was like, "Oh, this is just the worst thing." It was just recently. It was a week or
It
two
was
ago.
the January 6th shit.
The videos.
Yeah,
the
he don't
videos.
want-
The Tucker
why
Carlson.
don't you want people to see them?
Yeah,
Let everybody
exactly.
make their own. I don't understand what this is
Exactly.
about. If we're a cop shoots a guy, the best thing they can do is to release that video immediately. I'm telling you right now,
Yeah.
if a shooting happens in Albuquerque, New Mexico today, and a cop shoots a guy, and they're, he's unarmed, blah, blah, blah. No, he wasn't. And you show that video, because 99% of the times the cop is in the right anyways.
Yep.
Release it that as soon as it happens, get it out,
Absolutely.
and then
I
people
agree.
can say, well, never mind. There's a narrative to this.
I
He
agree.
didn't do nothing wrong.
Yep.
But they don't do that shit.
Nope.
January 6th is the same way. You should have flooded all that out. Let people in America, we're smart enough. I tell you right now, if a Republican does something wrong, throw him under the bus. I don't have a problem with that.
Absolutely.
You know? So
Absolutely.
right's right and wrong's wrong.
That's right. It's black and white.
It's I don't know. It's a weird time, and I've got young
Well,
kids.
it's sad. It's sad. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, I'm 72 years old, and it's just like, I can't believe it's happening in America
It's getting worse and worse.
all the time.
And we are so fortunate because we're shielded by a lot of this shit.
We are.
When I go to a big city and I see stuff, me and Michelle
I'm ready to get out of the big city
Me-
whenever I go.
me and Michelle we go to the same places all the time, and we go. Michelle likes freaking pretzels. She goes to this pretzel shop in Dallas. She loves it, so we go there every time. And every time we leave, and in the same conversation from the pretzel place to the car is, how do these places survive with these dumb kids working in here? They have no work ethic. We go in there one time, they don't have hardly any pretzels. And Michelle goes, "Are y'all going to make some pretzels? We don't know." Listen, dipshit, you're making $10 a freaking hour or $15 an hour, and the only way that guy can afford to pay you is if he sells shit. So get off your fucking phone
pretzels.
and go over and put some pretzels in the oven. It's not that hard, you know? But there's no motivation.
Yeah.
And these young kids, and I'm thinking, how do these businesses make it?
Yeah.
We're the same here. It's hard to hire a high school kid that works anymore.
Isn't that amazing? Well, that's one of the reasons that Celinda had to close her store. She couldn't find anybody to work.
No, they want to get paid.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate. The last couple of high school kids I've had have done a really good job.
Yeah.
But Luke that worked
They
for
weren't
this
just
year,
they weren't knocking down our door fighting for a job. Like
No.
it's one or
Yeah.
two kids a year.
yes, and they used to have. But when I first got business 30 years ago, we had a high school kid, one or two, that worked for us every hunting season.
Yeah.
And I would have 10 of them call me.
Right.
Yeah.
Every year. And then Michael McGoy was the first one I had, him and Anthony Ainsworth, and both were really good hands. Michael McGoy may be the best kid that ever worked for me as a worker.
Yeah.
And he's that way as an adult. His dad was a worker, his grandpa was a worker, and his son worked for me this year, and his son done a really good job. But when Michael went off to college, I had 15 kids. Well, Michael's going off school. You gonna need me? Can you give me his job? You can't beg a kid hardly to go to work now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
parents, I just don't want him to have to work. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. Peyton makes his kids, all of his kids work, except for of course the little girl, but his daughter, and she just turned 16, and Tristan, he's going to be a junior next year, and I mean they work, they go out, they feed every afternoon, they feed the horses, the
Country
cattle,
kids.
country kids,
That's right.
they get with the program.
Well, I got bad news for a lot of these people. Like when you get your family of your own, like you still got to feed them at night.
Yep.
You've worked all day. You've done your whole thing. Like you still got to feed your family at night,
Yep.
whether you're tired
Yep.
or sick or hungover or whatever
Yep.
ailment you've got.
Yep.
Like there's going to come a time where you've got to kind of pull yourself up by your own bootstraps
That's right.
to make sure that your family is taken care of.
That's right.
And the thing is, when you have small children, you can put pressure on them in a safe environment to where if they fail, it's not life or death.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've got two kids of your own and you're failing, well, like now it's a different story. Whereas a lot of these lumps you could have ironed out when they were 15 or 16 by just putting a little bit of pressure on them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And do it when they're at home when it's okay.
Give them responsibility.
Yeah,
some
and it's
responsibility.
not life or death if they kind of fall flat on their face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work some of these things out when you've got control of them.
Yes, I agree.
But we're just putting all these people into the world that have never been under any sort of stress.
Yeah.
And then, whenever their Starbucks is messed up, well, that's when they go off the handle because just this little bit of stress, it just flips their breakers.
Yeah. I can remember back in the 50s when we got about 9 or 10 years old. If we could throw the saddle on our horse, we started working. And of course, you wouldn't required to do try to wrestle a yearling down, but you helped brand, you helped vaccinate, you castrated, you earmarked. I mean, that was all summer long you worked. And I still have a piece of paper, a little notes that I'd kept from the 60s where I got a raise from $2 to $4 a day. And I got a raise, $2 from $2 to $4 a day.
Making a hand, though.
Making a hand.
But we don't have that today hardly at all.
Yeah.
Like the grocery store in Knox City. First of all, wears me out. Why the hell don't stores have sackers anymore?
I know.
I mean,
know.
even at Knox City, they used to have a sacker.
Well, I was at yesterday at Sam's. There's only 2 checkers.
Oh,
that wears me
2
out.
checkers, and I mean, people lined up, and I'm going, "Where's all the checkers?" The guy next to me said, "They're just trying to save money, I guess."
I won't go to Walmart or Sam's no more at all. And I used to love Sam's. Ollie, hush. But I will not. Yeah. I won't spend a dime in a Walmart.
Yeah.
Remember when a Walmart used to be American made? Mm-hmm. Everything, that was their motto. Before you were ever alive, made. Their motto was made in America. Yeah. Everything in a Walmart was made in America.
Yeah.
Now it's everything, nothing's made in America is what they should. Yeah. Their motto is. I can't stand fucking Walmart. Yeah. I just will not spend a dime in it. Sam Walton is dead. Sam Walton would be embarrassed at what's become of his business.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat him.
Ollie, go lay down.
He's a great... Sam Walton's a great success story.
Sam Walton is. Yeah, and his kids own Major League Baseball, NFL franchises, and everything else because of him.
Yeah.
But I'm not a Walmart. And I'm sure their analytics say we're making more money because we don't have to pay for checkers.
Yeah.
My deal with Sam's happened a long time ago. I like going to Sam's. Yeah. I do, because I buy shit I don't need and I buy a bunch of it.
Yeah.
You don't ever buy just a little thing of it. Everybody needs a case of Zest crackers or something.
Yeah.
It's big in homes.
Oh, okay.
So, but we went there. We used to go there, and I used to get stuff for the lodge, and we'd buy stuff like I said, we don't need. Then they would make me have to stop at the door and show the lady my receipt.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, if you don't want to sack my freaking groceries, don't stop me at the deal to make sure I have everything on there.
I don't like that.
That wears me out. So I just keep walking. And sir, and I give it to her, and I just keep walking. And she's walking to the deal trying to count, and they put that. It pisses me off every time. And that just, if you don't trust me, you have someone over there to check me out.
Well, they checked you out. You ought to be, when you're leaving, it should be right.
Yeah. I'm having to put my shit in boxes because you don't have sacks here.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure I check everything. Yeah. One time the lady stopped me. I made her go through everything. We had like 183 items. I said, no, I want you to mark off every damn thing. But she was like, Jeff, no, screw it. They want to do this shit, everything. You check everything off that list.
Did?
Oh, yeah, she was pissed. I made her. I was like, no, man, whoa. There's 16 of them. You count them. Make sure I got 16 of them. I was an ass. But it just pisses me off,
Yesterday they did it real quickly. They just kind of glanced at it and they checked me out,
But what she pissed me off. She stopped me finally because I just keep walking. Sir. You can walk me all the way to the car and count that shit. I've paid for this shit. I'm out the door. I didn't steal nothing. I'm not gonna fuck my life up. By stealing a case of Snickers.
Yeah,
it just ain't happening.
Right.
I mean, there's just nothing there to stake.
I agree.
I don't like self-checkouts.
I don't know how to use them. Celinda uses them. I just can't. I mean, I'm just one of those guys. I'm just in other time, earlier time. I just don't get along very well with that kind of stuff.
I hate self-checkouts. Every bit of self-checkouts I hate. And I don't understand. And it's funny, we was in Puerto Rico last year, and we went to Walmart in Puerto Rico. Had to go buy groceries, and they had a super Walmart there. Well, you know what you're getting. I didn't know about going to a Puerto Rican grocery store, which we went later to, and I really enjoyed it. We always went to a Walmart. Every station had a checker.
Every station
had a checker. There wasn't no huge lines, 50 people deep. It didn't take very long at all. The only thing that was different was they didn't have sacks. No sacks at all. you had to bring your own sack or they sold you a sack.
Really?
And I asked the guy, I said, y'all not have sacks here? He goes, oh, do you want to buy some? Yeah, I guess so. I got to take and get the shit out of the house. He goes, they're 10 cents a piece. I was like, yeah, that's fine. I go, this probably needs at least 10. He goes, oh, that's at least 15 probably, sir, which we stocked up for a whole week of shit.
Yeah.
They were freaking heavy duty sacks like you used to have here in America. I was like,
you want to keep?
Yeah, people people did. People
Absolutely,
kept them.
Yeah.
But and Michelle brung some home. She brung some of them home. But they were good sacks.
Yeah.
But everybody worked in the store. The shelves were full. There was people there, and I told him, I said, you can't find this shit in America. Nobody wants to fucking work.
Isn't that sad?
And he goes, I've heard that. He goes, everybody here wants to work. Yeah, because if you don't work, you're starved.
Golly, that's sad.
Did this area ever have like a butcher shop or anything?
I'm sorry?
Did this area ever have like a butcher shop?
McCandless had a butcher shop in Benjamin.
Really?
Yeah.
And like fresh meat what would they do? They would just have a kill list?
They'd cut it up there, and he'd have, if you wanted a steak, he'd cut you a steak up.
See, I don't understand. To me, the business model is there, especially in a town, Abilene, Wichita Falls, Vernon, bigger towns, Stanford, Texas even. And they have a butcher shop where they butcher a cow every day.
Oh, yeah. Well, now, Bush didn't do that.
But you could do that in a bigger town and sell it all fresh hamburger meat.
His dad had a slaughterhouse outside of Benjamin there, and that old building's still there.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And he slaughtered his own beef, and he was a butcher.
But I do not understand why. I don't know of one in Wichita, and I'm sure there probably was. McCorder Meat Market used to be open. It's closed now, but you used to be able to go to a butcher shop and go in, and you could buy 3 pounds of fresh hamburger meat.
Yeah,
and it come from that day. And in those big cities, especially the prices of cows on the hoof is not real bad compared to what you sell it to them on. You'd make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I think it's back to the same thing, government freaking regulations on everything.
Of course it is.
You got to have a USDA inspector over there to check the cow.
Well, like at the bar there at Benjamin here a while back, there was a lady come in there and she was selling tortillas and what have you. Well, here come an inspector in. You can't do that. So she had to move outside in the wind.
I think a lot of that's from jealous restaurant owners local that call in on them.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I believe that shit. Like the burrito shops in Knox City. We used to have 3 or 4 of them. Well, all of a sudden they get a health inspector come in the middle of the day.
They come and go.
Listen, everybody that goes to buy a burrito from a little Mexican lady in Knox City is not expecting to go into stainless steel deal. We want a burrito. We want sausage, egg, and cheese, or bacon, egg, and cheese, chorizo, egg, and cheese with potatoes. And we know it's greasy.
Yeah.
And that's the best tasting ones there is.
Yeah. Every time you eat one of them, it reduces your life by a year.
Yeah. But that's what those oil field workers, that's what they want.
Yeah.
And they go every day to the place. They know what they're buying.
Until it finally catches up with them.
It will.
And it will.
One day.
Yep.
One day it
About
will.
60 years later.
But I think butcher, that's going to be a lost art one day.
Oh, sure.
It's all going to be machine operated, and it was one thing that was passed down from father to son.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you go to New York City, you can get that. They got butcher shops. They got markets. They got fresh markets.
Yeah.
They got a lot of people though.
Yeah.
But they still have them. They've carried on traditions for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
The smaller towns, the Walmarts and stuff come in and knocked all them out.
Yeah.
People would rather save 10 cents a pound buying meat at Walmart. Well, I'd rather pay extra and get fresh.
Yeah. True.
You know?
True.
Walmart, detrimental to small towns.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Well, it is. It's these smaller towns just can't compete.
No.
These smaller stores can't do it.
Well, even in Wichita Falls. Well, I'll give you an example. Iowa Park, Texas had the first Walmart, I believe, in that area. Iowa Park or Burke Burnett had one. Well, you know how many Walmarts in Iowa Park and Burke Burnett now?
No.
None. They all moved to Wichita Falls.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People will drive 10 miles further and go to Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
But what they did is they went into Iowa Park and they built them. And they have a company goes in and builds them for them, and then they lease those buildings for 10 or 20 years. They had a Walmart in there. What happened in that 20 years? They ran all the local businesses out of businesses.
I got
all the mom and pops get out. Then, instead of building a new one in Iowa Park, they built it in Wichita Falls.
Quite a business plan there.
Yeah. Burke Burnett, same way. They closed the one in Burke Burnett. I think it's in Osborne's now or something.
Yeah.
What'd they do? They opened up one out by Shepherd. They built a new super center there.
Wow.
People drive 8 more miles. They take all the tax dollars, put it in Wichita Falls instead of Burke Burnett.
Things have really changed since I was a kid. Boy, we had 2, let's see, in Benjamin back in the 60s, late 50s, 60s, we had, if I can remember right, 7 filling stations.
Wow.
People used a lot of gas back in the day, I'm telling you.
And we had 2 at least two grocery stores. We had Butch McCandless's and W.T. Cartwright's, and then real early there was another one. I believe the Hamilton had a grocery store there where the post office is now. And so I know we had two grocery stores for a while, and possibly three really early on.
What was your population then? 600 people?
About 400 or 500, yeah, 400 or 500.
But people shopped all the time because they didn't have storage at their house.
Yes.
So they would shop every day?
Yeah.
And get what they were going to need.
And get what you needed, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have big refrigerators, and nobody had deep freezes back then at all.
Yeah. Of course, out there on the ranch, you know, I mean, we had a deep freeze because we'd get ranch would furnish us with beef, and we'd have to put a beef in that refrigerator. But a lot of people didn't.
And it was ice boxes back in the day.
Yes, yeah. Because I remember W.T. Cartwright had an ice house right there where the War Memorial is now. And we'd go by there with our horses in a trailer on a hot summer day, and Daddy would buy a big chunk of ice and cut it up and put it in one of those big steel water cans. We'd have ice water for the rest of the day.
Kids today have no idea what an ice pick is.
No.
Have you ever had one?
I don't know that I've ever. I mean, I know
Have you
what
ever seen
it
one?
is. Yeah.
But you've never.
I don't know that I've ever had a need to use one.
I remember using some sometimes.
I've used them a bunch, yeah.
I get so pissed off when I come in this kitchen. We got 7 refrigerators. And by about July, we're out of ice because I have Trainums comes out and they fill up our box all the time.
Yeah.
Well, May and June, we don't have nobody here. And so we get down to nothing, and I'll order. And I bought some ice trays to make ice.
Yeah.
And I'll go in there, and there'll be freaking 1 or 2 cubes left. The fuckers will just take them out there.
I know, it won't fill it back
it
up.
pisses me off.
Not me, Jeff. I don't use ice.
I don't know how you drink without ice. You know, they had ice back
Get a
in the
cold
plantation days. Back in the days, like in New Orleans, and they would go up to. I read a deal in Tennessee, is where they'd done a lot of ice. They'd cut a lot of ice out of those lakes up there, and then they would transport them in the wintertime to these plantations and stuff, and they put sawdust on them.
Really? Put sawdust on.
And that would help, and they would stack them, 16 foot deep or something. These big old deals, ice houses, and they would cut out blocks.
Yeah.
Well, they'd have chainsaw then. They'd cut blocks out of them, and people would go buy their ice that way.
I know on the J.A. Ranch when I was photographing one of my books, I was photographing the interiors of the house and the main house, and it was part of it was the old original J.A.'s, and they had a spring that ran underneath in the basement, and that's where they kept their meat and stuff and milk. They keep it in that cool spring water.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
How deep down was it?
Oh, I don't remember now. That's been years ago. But I remember that you could see where the water would come in, and they'd keep their milk and stuff, and down there where it wouldn't spoil.
Different world, man. Those people.
Oh yeah, they could get it. They knew how to get around.
When was the big house built on the 4.6s?
You know what? I'm not sure.
What is it like on the inside?
It's
it fairly
I don't know what
modern?
it is now. All I know is when Ann had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very nice. The living area was most impressive. Now, I only went upstairs one time, and that's after it sold to photograph it. And the word was that no one was ever allowed upstairs unless you were like part of the family or something. And I remember there were pictures of Quanah Parker and Burke Burnett on the wall, and I photographed all that. Downstairs, there's a big fireplace, and there was 2 elephant tusks and holders.
That was a 60s thing.
Yeah, it was on either side of it. And I remember Ann standing there. And I said, Ann, what'd you shoot those elephants with? And she said, a 470 double. And I said, well, did it kick you? And she said, I really don't remember. And so I think it was in the 60s when she shot that elephant.
What was she like as a person?
She was a very reticent woman, real quiet. She knew what she wanted, and you needed to get it done. If she said do this, well, you made sure and make sure it was finished. I remember whenever they invited me to the big house to talk about doing that book, she met me at the door. And actually, Shonda Gibson met me at the door, and then Ann came up. She had her riding breeches on and everything. She said, come into the study. And I sat down, and I was kind of like, here I am sitting in front of royalty, And she leaned over, and she said, okay, Wyman, this is what I want, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Can you do it? And I said, yes, ma'am, I can. And she said, when can you get started? And I said, immediately. She said, that'll be fine. And she said, what will this cost? And I said, well, I'll need to get with the press because that's when I was still working with the press, Tech Press. And she said, okay, you find out what it'll cost and you get it back to me. And then she said, well, let's go have lunch. And walked in the dining room, and there's a big long table, huge long table made out of one tree, big wide thing. I don't know what kind of tree it was, but I mean, it's just beautiful. And all the cowboys were lined up, you know, they were sitting down there eating. And she said, you sit down beside me. And I said, yes, ma'am.
So she ate with the Cowboys every day?
No, that was just that day she did.
That day. So
Special
usually,
day.
like the Wagner, we went back when I was a kid. We used to get a hunt on the Wagner every year, and we got to go. That was one of my favorite parts of the deal was going to eat at the cookhouse there, the shack, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You go in there in the morning and you have any kind of egg you wanted, and then at lunchtime they'd have something. And I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was a kid, it was probably a pretty big deal. Looking back now, and you've been there, they're probably not. The cookhouse was probably not real big at the Wagner. But when I was a kid, it was a big. You know, when you're a kid, you remember things.
I only ate at the cookhouse to Wagner on one occasion. The rest of the time I ate around the wagon, you know, with the wagon. And I remember the first time I ever ate at the wagon was in the 50s. And I still recall, I don't know why, but Daddy said, we're going to the Wagners today to eat at Chuck Wagon. And I was probably 7 years old.
You did the old back way through Gillen, didn't you?
I don't recall where. I think it was in that pasture called Comanche, I believe, and which is near that big field.
By the big wheat field. Yep.
And I remember pulling up there, and then all of a sudden the Cowboys come up in a bobtail truck. All the Cowboys were riding the back of it, and they all bailed out with their leggings and spurs on. And I was kind of timid, you know, and I kind of backed off. I remember one of the little Cowboys said, get in line, boy, and get you a plate. I got in line, got me a plate, and got the hell out of there, out of the way.
Did Miss Ann, she didn't have any kids, did she?
She had one daughter.
One daughter.
She was the only daughter. Her mother was the only daughter.
Well, that'd be a good family to marry into.
One.
Yep.
That would have been a good wife.
What once she kind of relaxed, or was she just kind of always this stern, straightforward?
Very stern. I remember she called me one time twice to fly to Montana to shoot her ranch in Montana. She had, I don't know, I forgot, it's 20,000 acres, I think. And I was going to the Big Bend, and I had my bag phone back then, and she called and she said, Wyman? I said, yeah. I didn't know who it was. She said, this is Ann. I went, oh, Ann. How are you, Ann? You know, you just talk to Ann normal.
Right.
It was like very respectful.
Yes.
And she said, yes, I would like for you to be in Montana and photograph my ranch for me. And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I'm in West Texas right now, but I'll be home on Monday. She said, that'll be fine. The plane will pick you up in Guthrie on Tuesday. By God, Tuesday, I was there, and that big jet landed and picked me up, and Celinda, and we flew to Sulphur Springs, I believe, Montana, or Sulphur River, Montana, or Sulphur, Montana, something. And she had a ranch there on the Sulphur River, and she did that twice and flew me out there.
That, you know, Fort Worth.
Oh, I can tell you something else.
Go ahead.
Being the lady she was, you know, she was used to, you know, always being waited on all the time. That first time out there, she picked us up at the headquarters, took us around the ranch herself, had a picnic, had the food, picked and cleaned up. As we laid down to have a nap, she cleaned up. It was
really,
she was just like a mother.
That's
but
crazy.
You did not cross that woman.
You know,
you did not cross that
She'll
woman.
cut you.
She will cut you bad.
Fort Worth, you know, is it Parker or Taylor Sheridan? What's the guy's name?
Taylor Sheridan.
Taylor. Yeah. He needs to make a movie called Fort Worth.
I think he is. He is, I think.
Is he?
Maybe.
With Billy Bob Thornton.
About Fort Worth?
He is so prolific. I don't know how he does that.
I believe so.
He needs to do a Fort Worth show because Fort Worth was a very interesting place. Dallas is California. Austin's California. Right. Fort Worth is Texas.
Yeah.
And Miss Ann, the Basses, all those people that are Fort Worth people. Mm-hmm. Fort Worth used to be. People tell me now that live in Fort Worth that it's changed. It's getting horrible. It's just another big city that like anything else. But it was the last big conservative city in America that still you could go down to the oil and gas building and all the big players were there, and they were all about Fort Worth, and they all thought alike, and people, it was just a different world than Dallas. Exactly. Now there's no difference between the two, really.
That's too bad.
It is.
That's too bad. I got to be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Where are you going to be at there?
At the Cattle Raisers Convention. And
Fort Worth.
Yeah, man the booth there, or Middleton.
Okay, yeah. But do they still drive the cattle down the road?
I don't know.
They used to drive cattle every day through town.
Yeah.
It was the 1883 show. There's a scene, Billy Bob Thornton, he plays Jim Courtright. Anyway, he's a Tarrant County deputy, Fort Worth, 1876 to 1879. And but anyway, basically Billy Bob is walking around and he says, if you want to drink, get a drink. If you want to dance with the girls, dance with the girls. But if you think you're going to be a gunman in Fort Worth, think again, because I'm the only person that's basically going to pull a gun out in Fort Worth. But it's 1883, which is the spinoff to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, what are you going to, because you made this post not too long ago. I mean, it's just, you've got 200,000 images.
Yeah, in one file.
One little file.
One folder, yeah.
Like, what's going to happen to all this?
I don't know.
You could have a book just on your culls, almost.
I know, but I tell you what, I am so tired doing books. I am really tired.
Right.
I am so I've done 30 books now, and I'm tired.
Because, I mean, this is a gorgeous...
It's amazing. One guy's already ordered a print of that.
But, I mean, you've got to just have hundreds of thousands of stuff that are similar quality.
I'll go for days and not post anything. I think, okay, it's time to do a post. Because I don't want to do a post every day.
Right.
I don't want to just people who's finally another post,
Right.
So I'll go 4 or 5 days without making a post. I got to feel a post before I do it, because I want to write something that's meaningful about that post. And I was just flipping through my photographs, and I was downloading them to another hard drive because my backup hard drive had petered out. It wouldn't come up on the computer. It just wouldn't show up. It was alive, but it wouldn't show up.
Right.
And that company had gone out, it's Drobo, and they're like 20 terabytes. And I found out that now 20 terabytes doesn't cost as much as it did when I bought the Drobos.
Right.
Drobos were real expensive. 20 terabyte Seagate is $500, which is not expensive at all for 20 terabytes.
I have no idea what a
This
terabyte
is,
even is.
That's a lot of photographs.
This is 1 terabyte, and it's, I don't know,
$80,
$75 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think I can get, most of our podcasts are about an hour long, and I think I can get about 20 to 25 on there. But video takes up a lot of
sure,
a lot of storage.
Well, I was just going through and I found that. I went, man, that'll make a good post. But I remember that day so vividly because my Canon F1N, which none of them ever quit on me except for that one, but it started sounding weird, like it was wheezing, like it was taking its last breath, and like a 1/25th of a second went. And I went, something bad's happening here. And luckily I had, a couple more F1Ns with me. But that was one of the last pictures I took with that camera before it died.
All right, I'm going to ask a question that everybody else wants to know. We're sponsored by all of our equipment and stuff we get basically sent to us now. We do a lot of social media. They get a lot of exposure to them. Do these companies give you cameras?
Nope. My the Canon rep has given me one lens and one camera, but he just kind of did it.
Under the cover deal.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about that because someone like you, if I was Canon, I'd be like, we are the proud equipment that Wyman Meinzer uses. They don't care.
They won't do it. No.
That's crazy that you would figure you'd get whatever you want.
I know.
How much equipment do you like to take? Like if you're going to go out and shoot, how much? Like I'm sure you have backups to backups.
Yeah, I usually, if I'm on a really tough shoot, say one that's going to be several days long, I'll take 3 cameras with me. I'll take a couple of 5D SRs, and I'll take a Mark III, and I'll take a 1DX for fast stuff. And and 1DX always has a 100 to 400 millimeter lens on it all the time. It's got its own case, and with it, it's got a 24 to 105, and then on the camera, it's got the 100 to 400. So I've got covered, the gauntlet covered. I can pick up at one case, but if I'm going to go and really do a heavy shoot, say for several days, I may have to go up in Arizona next month for like a week and shoot in northwestern Arizona, the biggest ranch in Arizona, and shoot some advertising stuff. In which case, I'll carry I'd say a 17 tilt shift, 20 to 35, the 24 to 105, the 70 to 200, the 1DX with the 100 to 400.
Do you hate carrying all this stuff?
Yeah, I do.
mean, it's hard on your equipment.
I hate the hell out of it. I hate the hell out of it.
You are about
wear and
ready to
tear.
retire.
I'll carry drone. I'll carry a couple of drones with me.
Right.
And I'll probably have to ship those because I'm not going to carry those on the plane.
But
Oh shit! I didn't even think about flying with that. I mean, and you see the way they handle your luggage.
how'd your
and
luggage?
baggage.
How'd your luggage do? Andy got 5 days the other day without luggage.
I don't think I
that
told.
won't work.
Oh,
I'll FedEx mine.
you do.
That's what
And
we
they're
have a lot
little
of
bit- they're
clients that do
easier?
that.
Yeah.
They send their shit here now.
Yeah.
Whole lot better than dealing with the airplane.
Yeah.
We I was going to go to a bachelor party in Deadwood, South Dakota in February. Well, it's still snowing in February. Hate to tell you, and Deadwood's a snowy place.
Yeah.
So that blizzard had moved through, the one that we had late February. So I was scheduled to fly from DFW to Minneapolis to Rapid City, South Dakota. I get to Seymour, and my wife calls me. There's no service in that little bitty stretch. My wife calls me and she said, "Hey, your flight from Minneapolis to Rapid City is canceled." So fuck. As I turn around, she's on the phone already because once again, no service. She's trying to get me to this bachelor party. And she said, "Okay, so I've got you another flight. It's going to go Dallas to Denver to Rapid City. It leaves at 4:00. So I leave here at noon or something like that. Get to Dallas. Plane goes to and I did not want to check my bag. I had a small bag. I'm only going to be there a couple days. I'll make it work. Did not want to check my bag. They go through halfway through the first group of boarding. They said, "Okay, we've only got room in overhead storage for 8 more bags. The rest of you are checking your bag at the counter."
Oh, my word.
Great. So I go to board the plane. Of course, I'm the last group to board. And they said, "Okay, we're going to need to check that bag." And I said, "Well, where's it going to be? Because I've got a layover in Denver. Is it going to be in Denver? Or is it going to be in Rapid City?" I said, "No, it's going to be in Rapid City." So I said, "Okay." Land in Denver, turn my phone back on, and first text message I get, "Your flight from Denver to Rapid City has been canceled."
Oh, my word.
So I'm in Denver, and it's 1 degree
I
outside.
hate Denver Airport.
It's huge. It's massive.
I hate it.
Can't get around anywhere. So I'm like, and they're just, you walk outside and you just see that ticker and it's just canceled, delayed,
Yeah.
delayed to canceled. And like, it's just a cascading effect. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Like, I gotta get home.
Jeff's going to come pick you up if he has to.
Luckily, my wife had got the text message an hour before I did. So so I call her and she said, "This is Wednesday." She said, the earliest I can get you to Rapid City is Friday sometime.
Oh, my.
It might be morning, might be evening. I come back home on Sunday. Well, I said, "Screw it, get me home.
Yeah.
Just get me home. I don't care what you have. I don't care what time the flight is." So she said, "Okay, your plane leaves in 2 hours. You'll be back in Dallas." Problem is, my bag was checked. I don't have my bag anymore.
Oh, my word.
So the customer service line is a mile long because everybody's in a similar position. So I'm like, well, shit, maybe my bag's in luggage claim. So I go down to baggage claim. And you know how Denver is. You got to catch 2 trains to get to the baggage claim.
Right.
It's not just you hop in.
Right.
Of course, my bag's not there. They said, well, if you made other arrangements, your bag will follow you to Dallas. Well, it didn't, of course. So they lost my luggage for a week. We went to Mexico. We were going to go to Mexico 5 days after I got back home. My bag got back to me the day before we left.
Really?
But I mean, I couldn't imagine like you on a photo shoot having everything you need there and then them lose your stuff.
No, it's I try to minimize. Used to when I would go on a photo shoot back in the 80s, man, I took everything on the plane with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I carried 70 pounds of camera gear. It was horrible. And of course, I was 30-something years old back then. And so now I really try to pare everything down to where it's just bare minimum. And so, but with the drones, if I do make this shoot in Arizona, I'm going to ship those with FedEx because I'm not going to take any chances because it's going to be drone country. There'll be mountains, going to be canyons, and I want to work the drone and that stuff.
Do you like doing the drone stuff?
I love it. I love drones. Oh my word. Drones are my heroes.
I mean, you can get this totally different.
I mean, I
view.
can get angle. I used to have to fly myself and fly
Right.
with the door off and try to, have the stick between my legs and yaw the plane around. And you're at 800 feet or even 500 feet, and you go, man, if I stall out, I'm dead. There's no pulling out of this. Mm-hmm. With a drone, man, I can sit over a mile away and I can just drop that thing right down. I just love a drone. I've got 3 of them. I got 2 Mavic 2 Pros and the Classic 3 that they've come out with, and
What'd we buy?
wonderful.
I can't remember.
We got a Mavic we bought. I don't even know
But
how
it's
to use
changed the way that we do because we can fly over
Oh.
our decoy spread, and you can pick out flaws from the
Well,
bird's
I'll tell you
eye
what's
view.
funny. I tell you what I did this winter. There's a bunch of geese over on the Benjamin Lake. No, on my brother's field. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'm going to go over there and just do like a video of them. Well, of course, you headed toward them, and of course they spot the old drone,
Right.
and they take off. Well, they take off in the opposite direction, but then they turn
Bank.
and they come right back to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're just going just like a bullet, right in your face.
That would be cool.
And so you stop the drone. You don't want it going forward, because if you got it stopped, they're going to miss you. You'll see a wing go by
Right.
the lens this far, but they're going to miss you. But if you're coming at them and they're coming at you, they're liable to hit you. And so I just stop it. And one of them shit all over my darn camera. I mean, he plastered that drone so perfect. I got it back and going, oh my God, I need to get Kleenexes and water.
So you're going to be up by the Grand Canyon?
I don't know exactly where this ranch is. I know it's 700,000 acres.
Damn.
How long will that take?
I'm supposed to be up there if it happens, I'm supposed to be up there for about a week. And in May, and a week in August, and a week in December.
It's got to be close to the Wagner. I mean, Wagner. It's got to be close to the Grand Canyon.
It may be. I know it's up in some rough mountain country.
That's a cool area, that Flagstaff
Called
area.
I believe it's called the Diamond A.
So this picture, is that water drinkable once the rain comes?
I'm sure it is. Yep.
You think it'd be pretty fairly pure? Because it's, I mean, like you said in there, like that's no man's
It's
land.
just, it is no
And I
man's
mean-
land. The only thing that would bother you would be the mule deer
Really?
crapping.
Oh,
Might give
right.
you Giardia.
Oof. But still, like,
Yeah.
I wonder if the
Die
Indians dealt
from-
with Giardia. I wonder if they were used to it.
I'm sure that their body became accustomed to the
because
bacteria.
when we were in Mexico, they always say you don't drink the water in Mexico.
Right.
Evidently, the Mexicans can drink that water
Yep.
because their stomach has
Right.
grown accostomed to handling that water. But when the gringos come, like it's something in it that we're not used to.
Absolutely. I've been to that little party. Yeah, several times.
Boy, whew, I got in my last little trip there. I think that's what I had. It's a bad day too, boy.
I'm telling you, see, and where I got mine is I let them put ice in my Dr. Pepper.
Right. And I wondered, like, they getting the ice from the same place water's coming from.
That's right.
Yeah, when you leave those resorts, but I think our issue was a resort issue. But when you leave them resorts, even in town, I got to drink. I drank a soda with some ice on it, and Jesse's like, "Are you not worried about that?"
Yeah.
Everybody's drinking pina coladas. You think that they think they're using
Right.
different ice?
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
ice.
Yeah.
Do you prefer pictures like the one that we just saw of the landscape, or like the grander picture of the guy working the cattle?
Oh, I like them all. I'm kind of have an eclectic taste. I'm not devoted to any one thing.
Right.
If the light's right, I get excited.
Yeah. I mean, the light
doesn't
was
matter.
perfect for that.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was white, and I didn't have a flare in the camera. I mean, everything was just right. I think there might have been some haze over the sun. It was dust, is what it was. There's so many cattle, and it was on the Borger 4.6s, and I mean, everything just worked perfectly.
Do you take pictures of all y'all's family functions?
No.
You don't do
No,
that like that?
I
because
despise it.
we use your name all the time at our family functions because every time my wife starts wanting to take pictures of them, it's like, God dang it, Wyman, quit taking everybody's picture.
Well, I don't.
So you don't do that then?
No. Sometimes Celinda will ask me if it'll be on the iPhone. I don't mind an iPhone, but I don't want to get my big cameras out. That's a hassle. They sit right there until somebody hires me to
That's for
photograph.
work.
That's for work. I'm one of those guys that my cameras do not come out of hiding until the check.
time.
They offer the check.
I love that picture.
That
right there.
picture
The
right
green
there
one.
is absolutely a dynamite photograph to me.
That is
Oh,
a very good picture. I love the reflection. Okay.
That was just had to be. I mean, everything was just perfect that day.
It-
to get the reflection just so perfect.
And it was in Rick's tank up there at his field that's by the Benjamin Lake.
Really?
That old shallow tank.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
There's a great picture. You know, there's not a lot of people in the world that I think, you know, they need to make a movie about their life. You know, you got your athletes and you got your celebrities and but you're an interesting guy. Have they thought about
No.
Taylor needs to come to you and do a movie on Wyman. That you would be an interesting story to tell.
I don't know.
You've come a long way. I mean,
It's been, you know, I got to give a presentation here before long, and it's what is it?
So that's your stuff. That's
evolution.
That's your
There you
loadout.
go. There you go. That's whenever it gets to be work. Whenever I go to work and I carry all that, that's work.
You got thousands of dollars just in cases.
Yes, many thousands.
Yeah. I mean,
And just in cases. Yeah, right. Yeah, those pelicans there.
they're not cheap.
Yeah, no, they're not cheap. I have found though that if you can go to what is it? Not Tractor Supply, but it's one of those where you can buy tools and everything, and that's in Lubbock. And they
Harbor
sell
Freight?
Harbor Freight. Go to that green one,
Yeah.
like $60.
at Harbor
that's it.
Freight,
Yes,
that's crazy because Harbor Freight sells shit usually.
Let me
If you
tell
want to buy
something.
something that's going to
I
break, you
buy
go to
those
Harbor
things
Freight.
like crazy now.
I did
green one
most
right
of
here?
the stuff they sell. If Tony used to be king of Harbor Freight,
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, go to Tractor Supply and buy the real thing that's
Yeah.
not going to break
Yeah.
because Harbor Freight stuff breaks a lot.
I don't think it's Harbor Freight. It's over on 82nd, and it's another one. Something Tools.
Osborne?
Northern Tools.
Northern Tools.
Northern Tools.
Herders.
Northern Tools.
Northern Tools.
yeah.
That's where I got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go in there, and they've got little bitty ones. Bought 2 the other day for my coyote calls, and I'll buy a medium size and I'll buy a big one, you know. And the big ones are like $100, whereas a pelican's gonna be $300. Shoot, I love them.
Northern Tools. That's
Northern Tools.
Herders Decoys. That was Northern. That they owned Herders too. For a
Yeah.
long time.
Really?
Yep.
Let's talk about the book because
Yeah, he's got to get out of here. You got to go show a ranch.
Yeah.
let's talk about it. You've got some you got some bookmarks.
I got some bookmarkers in here. Yeah, just some interesting points. You know, we tried to start each chapter with a quote, either from my journal or from someone's journal. And on this particular journal entry, which is actually in chapter 1, and it's 5 mule deer, and I quoted the Marcy expedition of 1854, and where he said, "It is not always consistent with safety to use the bleat of in a wild country, as sometimes a panther or a bear may be attracted by the sound, and unless a hunter has his wits about him, he may suffer for his sport." And they learned that, but they were up hunting for the headwaters of the Red River, and his Indian guide was trying to call up an antelope with the bleat of a young antelope that he had some sort of little call he'd made. And they called up a lion that almost ran over him. They said they shot him at the last moment.
Oh my goodness!
But what makes this, you know, there's lots of books on hunting and everything, but what I'm really proud of with this particular book is it has a lot of data from research.
Right.
That actually gives scientific facts. And one of them is my food habit study, and it is over like on page, got my dadgum glasses off here, 93 and 94, and it's the results of my food habit study from 1971 to 73, and really the only thing you have to add to it today is wild hogs.
Right.
Because they do prey heavily on wild hogs. And then there's the seasonal food niche diversity from 71 to 73, and it shows what months that they eat most, like rodents more in one month than the next. When the autumn season starts, they eat more vegetative cedar berries almost exclusively.
And then you gather that just by observing?
No, actually from research, from researching.
Okay.
That was published in the Journal of Range Management.
Right.
And then over on page 120, I got response time of animals, bobcats, fox, and coyotes. I have one of the designers, David, figured out these little stopwatches, which was kind of catches your eye.
What is that? A coyote right there?
No, it's a fox.
It's a fox.
Yeah. And then I've got some old historical photographs of me in the early years doing my research. Here I am, my Bronco U13, and I'm on my knees next to a coyote den, and then I've got a coyote with his mouth tethered that I'm fixing to put a tag in his ear and release him.
Was he pissed? How pissed was he?
Yeah, he's angry.
Do they stink?
No, not really.
They don't smell bad at
not
all?
unless they've been eaten on carrion.
So like a deer or something.
Yeah, kind of like a deer.
Are those two pups?
Yeah, those are two little pups in the summertime. Actually, in 2011, and they come to the water hole, and I photographed them drinking water.
Oh, that was a pond you took picture of every day?
Yeah, every day. It's 112 degrees when I'd get in that.
Most depressing pictures I'd see was watch your deal. That pond had died that summer,
yes,
and everything around
and that's
it was dying. Yep.
That was it. And then on page 148 and 149, it shows me at a stand making a call with my camera. And note that I have a lot of backstop behind me, and that's because one time I was jumped on by a bobcat from behind.
You've told us about
and so
that.
now I don't trust them. And I've actually been rushed about 8 times by bobcats. That really was a kind of a testy moment. And then over on page 170, 171, you have the gender for 20 years of how the gender ratio goes on bobcats and coyotes. And I have 963 coyotes. 48% of them were females and 52% of them were males.
Really?
So it's almost 50-50. On
Almost.
bobcats now, it's way more females, 64 versus 36.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Just more
They're-
aggressive?
the male is a little more aggressive.
Right.
Comes to the call. And
Now, is that the picture that you have of the two coyotes going back a couple pages? Is that common to see out there, or most of the time it's just one pack?
no,
one
it's
animal?
pretty common to call in a couple at a time, especially in February. And then you have on page 178, it looks like, you have multiple animals. You have stands and sightings per season from 2017 to 2022. And it goes from, let's see, 77% of the stands produce single predators, 23 produce multiple. That came to the call.
About a quarter of the time you're going to get.
About a quarter of the time you're going to get multiple animals in. And
what about bobcats? Do you ever
bobcats
get multiple?
Generally, almost exclusively one.
One.
Yeah. Sometimes I've called in 2, but usually it's 1. And then I love this last picture of a coyote on 193, and I took a quote from Aldo Leopold, and it says, "Harmony with land is like harmony with a friend. You cannot cherish his right hand and cut off his left. That is to say, you cannot love game and hate predators. The land is one organism."
It's very true. How strenuous was it to find the right quote for the right chapter? I mean,
or
did you
most
kind of
of the
have
quotes
these
were my
recalled?
own that I took out of my journals over the last 45 years.
Right.
But the Aldo Leopold, I just went one day. I wonder what Aldo Leopold has to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I just looked up some Aldo Leopold stuff.
Started looking there, and then you just found the right
Found
spot
a perfect one
to put it in there.
And there was one here, and I don't know which page it's on, and it says, "When you look into the eyes of a wolf, you look into your own soul."
Yeah.
And it shows a coyote just staring right into the camera.
Right at you.
only a coyote can. And a wolf and a coyote, they're different, but they both have that stare to them.
Yeah. They still have that. Listen, don't get too far out of line. Don't forget your place in this ecosystem.
Right.
Because you're in their world.
You bet.
I'm sad that this is the last one.
I say it is. Celinda said it's not.
I'm with Celinda.
You'll
There's
always
no way.
have that call to do something.
But things don't always go perfect. Like for instance, on the last page, and nobody cares about this. I might add on the end sheets, these notes that are on the end sheets on the front and back. Those are notes dating back to the 1970s. Some of my first really significant notes on calling. Mm-hmm. But on the last page, I did a page just to give a nod to the camera gear. But when I initially made this list, that was before we changed a couple of pictures around, and it screwed up some of pairing up cameras with images. So I'm going to have to put an addendum to every book now that I've sold. 1,500 books. I'm going to send an addendum out to everybody. Put this in your book. You may not even care anything about the camera gear, but this is what's really right. And on the next printing, we're going to make it correct.
And it's something that just irritates the hell out of you.
It irritates me to no end because I'm telling you, putting a book together is work.
Yeah, I mean, look,
It is hard work. We had 2 guys that were doing the editing, one major guy who was really the editor, and then I had one that was helping with some of the illustrations. And then we had the designer, and then you had your editor, and then I had to, Selena and I had to go through and reread it and try to catch some mistakes. And I mean, it went on and on and on. It's like forever.
What about doing an autobiography?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't like to sit down and write that much.
Right.
Have someone else do the writing. You tell them.
Yeah, but then that's not.
You're very talented, and you're cheating the world if you don't do another book or 2 or 5.
Golly.
Man,
I mean, that's a little selfish,
come on,
isn't it?
Jeff. Give me a break.
Well, I've noticed by listening to you over the years, and I've known you a long time, I can tell you're ready to retire. But I don't think you're ready to retire on the fact that you're a project guy.
Yeah, well, I am. I cannot sit still. Every day that passes, I don't care if I go out to my shop and work on some little a call, the mouthpiece of a call. I have to go to bed that night thinking that I've achieved something.
So what would you do if you retired? You would.
Oh no, I won't retire.
So you got to find. So why not do another book?
But I can take my guns out and I can go shoot every day. I can go fly.
This one on page 165. Did she figure out the gig was up? And that's what that is.
That's the sequence.
That's it.
She's coming at me hard on the left. She says, "Oh shit!" on the right, top one, and on the bottom one, she's cleaning house and leaving.
And she put the brakes on.
Oh yeah. And that's the whole purpose.
You
of
fly a lot now, don't you?
Well, I try to fly 2 or 3 times a month.
I worry about you in that plane
Why?
because it looks like a tractor with wheels on it, and it just scares me because it's a little plane.
Well, that plane is a go-getter.
Well, I understand you're going to say that, but I
It
have.
is.
Somebody told me they saw you land on a field somewhere up here
Oh
one day.
yeah, I land on fields all the time. I landed, took my granddaughter up day before yesterday, and we landed twice in fields.
But I told somebody, I said, it scares me to death that they're going to come on that scanner. We got a plane crash. Someone thinking more about Wyman in that plane.
Well, if it does, it does.
You go the way you want to go, right?
That's right.
Look at that one.
That's like
that's the picture I like.
Yeah, well, he's so old, his ears are worn off. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is
That
not.
old dog's got some stories.
It ain't
Yeah.
an easy life out there.
That's right. And I tell you, there's one in there of a bobcat, and I couldn't see him at first. My wife spotted him, and we were down by Breckenridge, and I was shooting some stuff for a ranch for something they were doing. And I was calling, and she whispered to me, she said, "Look, right in front of us, right in front of us." And it was like probably 7, 8 feet away. And I looked in this bush, and I kept staring, and then all of a sudden I could see one eye. No, not that one.
Even that one's hard
That
to
one's
see.
tough to see, but I'll see if I can find it here. And I could see this one eye, and I'm going, I see him. And so, and I couldn't autofocus on him because it focused on all the bushes.
Right.
So I had to manual focus, and you could see one eye, one ear, and you could see he almost had a snarl on his face. You could see his tooth, one canine, and then all of a sudden he just backed up and disappeared.
What's crazy is my dog, he's a house dog 6 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year. But like these animals are running through, like there's stickers and cactus and prickly pears. And
But I'll tell you what, they won't run through is grass burrs.
They won't do that.
No. I have sat on the other side of a big sea of grass burrs, and a coyote will sit down on the other side and will not come through.
That's crazy. They're smart.
They will not come through grass burrs.
Hell, I don't want to walk through them either.
I wouldn't either.
How often would you see a scene like this where the 2 dogs are fighting each other?
You'll see it maybe once a year.
Right.
Where they don't actually fight because that alpha, it pretty well pushes that other one back.
He does.
Now, I called one up in 2021, 2 of them up, and both of them were alphas.
Oh.
And one come in, had his mouth wide open, and that other one bowed up and just said, "Hey, kiss my butt." And that one with his mouth open closed his mouth, and finally he just stood there and stared at me, and both of them did. They just kind of made peace.
Yeah. So, will he run one
That one
totally
leaves.
out of
Oh,
the
yeah. That and turns
totally
and-
out of the
He just turns
scenario?
and trots off.
That's it. I'll go
Turns
find
and
somewhere
trots.
else.
Yep.
What do you think about these people that have made pets out of coyotes?
Oh, I mean, it's I don't like them to be caged up. I think it's cruel.
But what about the ones that like run free in the house?
Oh, I think it's fine. Yeah.
I just can't imagine a coyote is a good pet.
When you turn
that-
this coyote loose, did he turn and run, or did he
They just haul butt.
he didn't want to fight you?
And I just
at all.
grab him by the back of I just have him by the mouth with my left hand and have him by their belly, and I just pitch them out, and they'll hit the ground and just take off running.
How did you get this? How did you get into this position to where you could control this animal?
You throw a piece of tarp, say 4 feet long and 2 feet wide, and you just throw it over their head.
That's it.
And now some of them bite, some of them will fight you.
How do you tie the thing around his mouth?
Well, you grab him by the back of the neck. Whenever you got the tarp on him, you grab him by the back of the neck through that tarp, and then you just slide your hand up over his mouth and just hold. Some of them start fighting.
That does not sound like a recipe to not get your hand bit.
Some of them will start fighting you.
Do you wear gloves when you're doing this?
No, because gloves just get you in a bind.
God almighty. Have you not ever seen the movie where the guy gets the rabies? I think it's the movie they filmed at the Four Sixes, wasn't it? The old cowboy movie?
Yeah, I saw that. They actually come down to batch camp to ask my opinion about trapping because I'd see people's tracks down there. Finally, I asked Bob Morehouse, I said, who's coming down to my house every day? He said, it's those movie people that's going to do that movie with Roy Rogers, and they want to ask you some things.
That was his last movie, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. Well, here it is. Here it is right here. It's on page. It is on page.
I can't get over putting your hand on that coyote's mouth like that.
134 and 135, I believe. Yes. That right there.
Oh,
Actually, I saw the ear. See how the ear shines?
Uh-huh.
That's what I zeroed in on, is that ear.
Oh, was that one ear?
That one ear.
Is what you got.
And he just sat there, never moved a muscle, never bat his eyes for like 5 minutes. And I took pictures, and then he just backed up and disappeared.
And it's crazy how they'll disappear, they'll move, and then you just don't see them anymore.
That's right.
Like you don't ever really see them move. You just know that I don't see them anymore.
Right. And Bobcat is a master at that.
Yeah.
It's just,
well,
it's
I don't
just
see.
amazing.
This winter, I spend a lot of time back roads, a lot.
Yeah.
And I can remember one day I saw a bobcat this year. I used to see bobcats all the time.
Well, that year that I caught that 103 in 59 days, I never saw a cat.
But they're there.
They're
know they're there.
I just knew they were there. I could. You drive down the road and you go, I know there's a cat here. You get to where you just go, this is a cat run. I know I'm going to set a trap here and I'm going to catch him. Right. And most of the time you're right.
I just don't see cats on the roads like I used to.
No, you don't. You don't.
That Ross Ranch area, is that a whole lot of cats back there?
Yep. That's where I caught a whole bunch of cats.
A lot of rocks and stuff back in there.
That's good cat country.
Tony took a picture of 2 audads right here by the lodge yesterday.
Yeah,
really?
Right on the wheat field.
Somewhere.
I'll be darned.
I don't think they get out. They're just starting to run this area. There's more and more of
They need
them.
to get rid of them because they compete with whitetails on water holes and such.
Really? There was 2 just yesterday. Took a picture right up here on the bush.
To me, they're nothing but trash animals.
This bobcat looks like he would weigh. He looks like he'd be.
Yeah, I think I weighed
heavy.
him. He weighed, I think, 22 pounds.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought he'd weigh more.
Yeah, he's a big male.
Yeah.
That sucker eat your arm off, Andy.
Hell yeah, he will. I know you got to get out of here. There was one last question about somebody tagged you in it about the coyote. How far had it gone? It was on Facebook.
70 miles.
Oh yeah. I had one when I
100 miles.
Was it that far?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was 70. I think it was. No. I think it might have been 100 miles. Yeah, I tagged 169 coyotes, and one of them traveled from over near Rhineland to Paducah.
It's a long ride.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
What are they looking for? Are they looking for mates? Or are
I
they
imagine
looking
they're
for
just
food?
getting the hell out of Dodge.
Really?
After having tags stuck in their ear. Most of them will stay within that region. They have a 9 square mile home range. That's what we found out through the research.
9 square
9
miles.
square miles, 3 by 3.
So this coyote that went the 70 miles or whatever, I mean, is he did resources run dry wherever he was? It just to your best guess.
I think
a long way to get
I think
pushed
he was
out.
just spooked.
Oh, really? And he just said,
I
I
think
gotta
he just
go.
hauled butt.
I gotta go until I can't go.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
It's fascinating stuff. I know you got to get out of here. You got to go show a ranch. Listen, it's been a pleasure as always
It's my
talking to
pleasure.
you.
I
We've
appreciate
gone
you guys
well
having
over
me.
2 hours here.
This summer, we're going to get you on again so we can talk
Okay.
more Indian history. Just whatever. Hell,
Okay.
I love having you on here.
You bet.
The Art of Predator Calling. Where can people, A Portrait in Tradition, where can they go get it?
WymanMeinzer.com and oh my word, I didn't write that down. Oh my word. It's WymanMeinzer.com and go to I should have got that from Celinda.
Here, I'm pulling it up right now. Why official store?
Yes, official store.
That's when you know
right
you're
there.
somebody, when you got your own name.com.
There it is right there. For
There it is
everybody,
right there, yeah.
WymanMenzer.com, and then just go to online store.
and you
it's
can
the
you
very
can order
first-
it right there.
The very first book. Listen,
It's sold. It's been selling like crazy all over the United States. I think
Very
there's been 4 states it hadn't sold in.
that's
What
a
states
testament.
haven't sold them?
I don't keep. Celinda keeps up with that. I don't.
Hawaii?
Hawaii's one of them.
Yeah, because they're always one of our
Yeah,
lowest ones.
yeah.
Hawaii, Rhode Island. What are our other 2 states that are always there's 4 or 5 states that are low on everything.
I sent
we do.
one just recently, I think, to maybe Massachusetts or somewhere. We got an order yesterday from some odd state, that's some way out there.
This
California, New York.
California
sold
is
them
one
there?
of our biggest download states we have is
lot of hunters
California
out in
and New York.
California.
Yeah,
A lot of New York ones too.
I'm sure there was upstate New York. We're
Beautiful
away from
place.
New York.
You
Yeah.
been
This
to Niagara
thing,
Falls?
It's a work of art.
Beautiful.
It really is.
Well, thank you. Thank
mean,
you. And I that's what I wanted it to be. I
gorgeous.
didn't want it to be this is how you kill things. It's
Right.
just this is how you call things.
Everybody I know that's read this book has done nothing but brag about it.
That's
Everyone.
great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Because I started it 53 years ago.
Yeah.
Sure, that is your biography, kind of.
That it is sort of my biography in a way. I started in 1969 in the dormitory room, wrote 10 pages, and decided I needed more experience. And 53 years later, here it is.
Well, good.
It is a work of art. I highly recommend anybody. I can't wait to thumb through this even more. Wyman, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, guys.
If you go to Arizona, be careful.
Yep.
I will, but it should be some pretty country. I hear that ranch is real pretty.
I know I've been to the Grand Canyon. It's a work of art. I walked in. I said, "Yeah, it's a big hole. Let's go."
Yeah.
I want to take that train from Williams through the Grand Canyon. I think that train ride.
Oh, I
would be
bet
pretty
it'd
neat.
be awesome. Yeah.
Well, anyways, we appreciate being on here. Good
Thank
luck
you.
and God bless you. Everybody that's listening to this weekend, me and Andy will be in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Bassmaster Classic at the Onum booth with Boss Shot Shells. Come by and see us. You can get Andy's autograph, Michelle's autograph, and you can just see me looking good in the boots. So,
There you
anyways,
go.
come by and see us.
Eye candy. That's what we call Jeff, the eye candy
Yep.
around here. So,
Yep, the milk dud.
bye, everybody. Go check out our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out Boss Shot Shells, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls, Gundog Outdoors, Shin Gear, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Podcast, Hunt Proof App, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Bangtail Whiskey, Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Mossberg, Dirty Duck Coffee, Ducks Unlimited, Double T Bridge Trails.